Chapter 237. After the bad luck divine pill was activated, Chengfeng's body released circles of light. Other than Yi Tianyan, no one else could see it clearly. This meant that the bad luck divine pill was officially activated. As for the effect, it depended on the result. I agree with Lord Cheng's suggestion. The weapon's effect has not been tested yet. Nan Fengyan looked at Yi Tianyan and smiled. What do you think, Mansion Lord Yi? Although Nan Fengyan couldn't send anyone to help him, he still wanted to see Yi Tianyan being crippled or defeated by someone else. Just now his subordinate reported Zheng Wu's death. Nan Fengyan was so angry that he was about to explode. However, he had already said that swords had no eyes. If he said it out loud, he would be slapping himself in the face. Hence he could only swallow his anger. I'm fine with it. Yi Tianyan didn't have a problem. He would kill as many as he wanted. As expected of the Heaven's Top Mansion's Mansion Lord. I believe that with Mansion Lord Yi's ability, you will be able to deal with it easily. Nan Fengyan's eyes were cold. He walked towards the weapon and wanted to pull it out. Just as Nan Fengyan was about to walk back, Cheng Feng, who was behind him, suddenly fell forward and crashed into Nan Fengyan's back. Dong! Both of them fell to the ground at the same time. Nan Fengyan fell forward and fell on his face. Cheng Feng directly pressed down on his body, and the two of them just stuck together like that intimately. Many people were dumbfounded. What's going on with Cheng Feng? This is an accident. Cheng Feng quickly got up and looked down to see that his boots were broken. No wonder he fell. Nan Fengyan also got up. He didn't expect this to happen. It was so sudden that he didn't even have time to react. When he saw Cheng Feng, he quickly stood up and helped him up. But just as he helped, Nan Fengyan slipped and both of them fell together again. This time it was an exaggeration. Cheng Feng directly pressed down, and the two's mouths were stuck together. Yu Shiqian and the others widened their eyes in shock. A man kissing another man. This shocked many people, and no one was envious of them. Ba ba ba. Cheng Feng's embarrassment turned into anger. He slapped Nan Fengyan's chest and bounced up. He never thought he would kiss a guy. Nan Fengyan was even more dumbfounded. She did not expect to see such a disgusting scene in front of so many people. It was so embarrassing. Cough cough, this is all an accident. Bring me some water. Cheng Feng really wanted to rinse his mouth. The guard beside him hurriedly brought a cup of water over. Cheng Feng quickly took the wine cup and poured it into his mouth. After drinking 2 mouthfuls he wanted to spit it out, but he swallowed it and even choked himself. Cough cough cough. He coughed violently and lost his composure. He raised his hand and slapped him. Bastard! What kind of wine did you bring me? It tastes so bad. The guard couldn't even dodge the slap. He could only take it head on. But before the slap could reach him, a tearing sound could be heard. Due to the force of the slap, the sleeve of the guard was torn open. Half of his fat was exposed, and the only thing that hit the guard was his sleeve. With this swing, his center of gravity became unstable again, and he fell to the side, falling onto the bodyguard behind him. Poochie! For some reason, the guard's sword pierced through Cheng Feng's body, easily piercing through him. Cheng Feng's body was not weak, but the guard's sword was at least a low-tier soul armament. As long as they weren't prepared, the sword could easily pierce through their bodies. Ah! The intense pain caused Cheng Feng to cry out in pain. He thought that it was just a simple fall, but he didn't expect that he would fall on his sword and be pierced through. The guard who was being used as a cushion panicked. He didn't think that something like this would happen. The guards at the side hurriedly surrounded Cheng Feng, wanting to help him up. Who would have thought that Cheng Feng would raise his head and stop them? No need, I'll do it myself. Cheng Feng gritted his teeth and stood up. His chest had been pierced by a long sword. He quickly pulled it out, and a stream of blood spurted out. Fortunately, it wasn't a vital point. Under his healing, the wound quickly stopped bleeding. The most important thing was that it was too humiliating. How could he not be humiliated after causing such a scene in front of so many people? He threw the long sword to the side and took out a bottle of pills from his storage ring. He directly stuffed it into his mouth without even looking at it. He didn't expect that not long after he ate it, his face would turn black. He opened his mouth and spat out black blood, staining the ground in front of him. Poison pills. Everyone immediately knew what the problem was. Cheng Feng had mistakenly taken the poison pills as healing pills. Instead, it made his condition worse. But his cultivation wasn't weak. He quickly suppressed the effects of the poison, and quickly took out things from his storage ring. But the things he took out one after another were not what he wanted. First, he took out the treasures that the crowd had offered. After taking out a few items, he finally took out a bottle of pills. This time, he carefully looked at it before consuming it. Very quickly, the poison in his body was neutralized. But his face became extremely pale, and his head was a little dizzy. Obviously, the poison was not weak. If the poison was too weak, why would he bring it with him? Although he didn't know what it was for, it was definitely not weak. This is all a little unexpected. Cheng Feng's head was dizzy. He lost his balance and fell to the side. Bang! He fell heavily and rolled a few times before crashing into a ray of cold light. At this moment, a sharp light slashed over and pierced into his back. Accompanied by a scream, he rolled half a circle to the side. Everyone saw that his back had been slashed by a sharp long sword. This long sword didn't belong to anyone. It was the one that Nan Fengyan had offered to him. With the addition of a 5th grade divine rune, the damage was even more obvious. Half of the long sword's blade had pierced into his body, and his arm was almost cut off. Many people sucked in a breath of cold air. They didn't know whether to help or not. Yi Tianyun, who was watching from the side, wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. There was only one thought in his mind. Bad luck divine pill. It was really a divine pill. It seemed like Cheng Feng was going to die soon. This divine pill is too powerful. A dignified core transformation expert was turned into a ghost. I don't know if he will die or not. Yi Tianyun shook his head. He really wanted to die. Chapter 238. Cheng Feng's consecutive mistakes had truly broadened their horizons. They had never seen someone make so many mistakes before. In the end, he was even stabbed by a sword. It was even more miserable than before. Nan Fengyun's face changed. This is his weapon. If he pursues it, he doesn't know if he will blame him. Not only was he kissed, but he also has to suffer. Everyone wanted to help him up, but they didn't dare to help him up. If something bad happened, how can they solve it? Fortunately, Cheng Feng was a bit stronger. After taking a few breaths, he stopped the bleeding and pulled out the long sword behind him. Blood spurted out and sprinkled on the ground. He sucked in a deep breath of cold air and swallowed a few healing pills. His wound quickly stopped bleeding. However, the wound still looked shocking. Fortunately, he had suppressed it himself. If someone had deliberately slashed at him, half of Cheng Feng's body would have been gone. Cheng Feng didn't move. He just meditated in the same place. At the same time, he was very vigilant to see if there are any sharp things around. If he continued to fall, he would be dead. Ding! Bad luck divine pill's effect ended. At this time, the halos around Cheng Feng's body disappeared. Except for Yi Tianyun, no one can see it. It's a pity it only lasted for 5 minutes, otherwise he would be half dead. In just a short 5 minutes, Cheng Feng was already like this. If it was delayed for 10 minutes, or 15 minutes, he would probably be left with his last breath. When his luck was at its worst, even if he stood still, someone would still touch him. But the effect is gone, unless he buys another one. Bad luck divine pill is available in the mall, but the price is not low. It costs 100,000 crazy points. Although it can make him unlucky again, he feels that the effect is limited. He won't be able to kill him completely. The life of a core transformation realm expert is still very hard. It is already very good to be able to do this. The main reason is that the surrounding environment is limited. If it is used in a very dangerous place, it can really kill him. Now the surrounding situation is relatively normal. At most he will be injured. It is difficult to kill him. However, if Yi Tianyun wanted his life, he didn't need this bad luck divine pill. Yi Tianyun could do it himself. However, this effect is really strong. One day, I'll draw another bunch and see if I can get more unlucky divine pills. In the future, I'll throw them to whoever I don't like. A long time ago, when Yi Tianyun had drawn this bad luck divine pill, he had thought that its effects were ordinary, but now it seemed that he was wrong. The effects were extremely strong. It could be said to be shocking. If there was a day that he didn't like someone and couldn't attack him, he could just throw out a bad luck divine pill, and no one would notice. The atmosphere of the entire venue was very heavy, even a little funny, or a little awkward. Everyone didn't know what to say. They all looked at Chung Feng, wanting to laugh but not daring to. He was simply too unlucky. Very soon, Chung Feng's injuries were almost half healed after a little relief. At the very least, the bleeding had stopped. After resting for a while, he would be able to recover. He very cautiously stood up and took 2 steps. This time, he didn't slip or fall, and there was nothing that flew over to attack him. Only then did he relax a little. He raised his head and looked at the crowd, making him extremely embarrassed. "What happened today, all of you? Don't tell anyone." "Yes, Lord Chung." Someone immediately reacted, but whether it was not to tell anyone, this was not clear. In any case, it was just a verbal promise. "Rest for today, we'll talk about it in a few days." Chung Feng thought for a while, then said, "All of you stay in this palace, our netherworld empire will treat you well." His originally arrogant attitude was now more than half gone. Treating them well was to shut their mouths. Originally, he wanted to announce some things, but now that such a thing happened, he really didn't know what to say, so he let them stay for the time being. "Lord, these weapons." The guard pointed at the weapon that Nan Fengyan gave him. There was still Chung Feng's blood on it. "Whoever wants it can take it, but don't show it in front of me in the future. I get annoyed just looking at it." After saying that, he waved his hand and walked into the palace. He didn't even bother to look at the weapon. He felt that it was a jinx. On the way back, he didn't let anyone near him, and he was constantly paying attention to the sides and under his feet. He was 100 times more cautious than usual. He was afraid of what just happened. "Thank you, Lord." The guard hurriedly picked it up. This was a top-grade treasure. They naturally couldn't miss it. The blood on it could be used after a little cleaning. It definitely wouldn't be lost. Chung Feng thought that he was a jinx, but they didn't think that he was one. Nan Fengyun's face was so gloomy that it looked like a storm was about to happen. That was his sword that he often used, and now it was taken away by a guard, but he couldn't take it back. How could he take back something that was given out? In theory, it already belonged to Chung Feng. Chung Feng could give it to whoever he wanted. He really had no right to interfere. "Lord, I will now arrange a room for you, come over here." One by one, the guards came over and led them to the room. Before leaving, Nan Fengyan looked at them coldly, and a trace of killing intent flashed past his eyes. Then he left, and the guards went to arrange a room for them. Tianyan also arranged a room for them, but it was obviously not a VIP room. It was a very ordinary room for servants. Apart from their heaven's top mansion, the other forces arranged a VIP room, but only their room was not. This immediately made Mu Xian'er angry. "Grandpa, they are discriminating against us. They arranged a servant room for me. It looks different, it's too simple and crude. Not only did they arrange a servant room for us, they even gave us a high-grade soul tool. If it was outside, I don't know how many VIP rooms we could have booked." Although they could all meditate and cultivate, and didn't need to sleep, how could they not be angry that they were only given one room? Not only Mu Xian'er, the great elder's face was also not good. It was definitely not because the room was not enough, but because they specially arranged a room for them. Originally, attending this banquet was not a good result. They just wanted to show their strength. Our heaven's top mansion is the weakest force, so naturally, the treatment is the worst. The great elder sighed. This is still within his expectation. We killed so many of their people. It would be a problem for them to give us a good face. Tianyan said indifferently. "I guess they are observing our situation. They even sent people to investigate the situation of Heaven's top mansion. They want to know what kind of helpers we have." "So the previous mansion, Lord he." The great elder's face changed. "It's okay, they won't do anything. If they want to do something, they would have already done it." Tianyan said indifferently. "What they need is enlistment. They can kill so many shadow guards. They think we have a helper, or a strong person to help us. What they needed was a top-notch expert, not a declining sect. If they refuse, they will die. If they agree, they will die." Chapter 239. The Netherworld Empire didn't immediately send people to destroy Heaven's top mansion, because of the hidden strength of Heaven's top mansion. If they don't have a good grasp of the situation, they won't act rashly. The best way was to recruit them. This way, they would have more power. This was the best choice. The reason why they let the second elder betray the Netherworld Empire was to become their puppets. Although the Heaven's top mansion has declined, they still have a certain amount of power, and they can be trained to be a powerful helper. No one will complain about their own power. The bigger the better. Who would have thought that the shadow guards they sent out would suddenly all die, causing them to be greatly shocked? They had some thoughts about this sudden power. It's best to control this power, but if they can't control it, then they will kill it. It's not difficult for them to kill people, it's just a matter of eliminating them. There are a lot of core transformation realm cultivators in the Netherworld Empire, so they just need to send out a few of them. But this is not the best result for them. The best way is to bring them into the camp and use them for their own use. I'll go out first, you guys stay here. Tianyan said after thinking for a moment. Understood, Mansion Lord. They wanted to ask, but in the end, Tianyan has his own plan, so they didn't ask. After Tianyan went out, he immediately sensed the gaze of the guards around him, and when they saw him coming out, they came up to him and said, "What's the matter?" "Nothing, I just want to go out for a walk," Tianyan said with a smile. "There is a curfew outside, please go back to your room." The guard replied coldly. Tianyan felt helpless. It seems that the treatment here is really bad. It's impossible to walk around here, so he can only go back to his room. Mansion Lord, this. They saw Tianyan came back and felt very strange. "I can't go out outside, so I have to go out from another place." Tianyan looked up at the ceiling and leaped up. Then he gently lifted the tiles and disappeared from the room in a flash. They couldn't see him clearly from below. "Grandfather, how exactly does the Manor Lord cultivate?" Mu Xian looked at the silhouette of Tianyan as he left and felt extremely shocked. "I'm not sure either." The Great Elder shook his head. This was the first time he had seen such a monstrous genius. After exiting, Tianyan activated stealth, completely concealing himself in the darkness. Looking around, there were still quite a number of spies staring at this place. However, no matter how hard they looked, they couldn't see Tianyan's figure. Tianyan's cultivation was much stronger than theirs, so they didn't have to worry about being seen through unless they got very close. The place he was heading to this time was naturally the place where Chengfeng lived. There was nothing more to say. What needed to be solved still needed to be solved. Once he got rid of Chengfeng completely, enlistment would be a fart. Soon he quickly rushed forward, avoiding the spies. When he landed on the roof of a room, he heard a roar. "That bastard, I didn't expect him to be a Mansion Lord. If it wasn't for the fact that we can't fight at will, I would have already killed him on the field. What Heaven's top mansion, it's just a piece of trash." Nanfingyun's voice came from the room. This was not a secret, so he said it quite loudly. They were also not allowed to go out at will, so they were all locked in this room and surrounded by many spies. The difference was that they lived in the VIP room, which had a lot of rooms, so the treatment was not bad. Obviously his weapon hurt Chengfeng, so he didn't complain. "Mansion Lord, please calm down. We can't fight here. Once it's over, we can go out and wipe them out." One of the elders sneered. "I heard that this kid is a guest of the Star Pavilion, and he has the standard of a 4th grade Divine Rune Master. That's unexpected. He's so young, and he has the standard of a 4th grade Divine Rune Master. No wonder he can become the Mansion Lord. But I don't think he can stay in this position for long. When this is over, it will be their time to die." Nanfingyun's eyes were full of killing intent. As long as one wasn't blind, he could see that Nanfingyun was completely angry, and he was determined to eradicate the Heaven's top mansion. Tianyun's eyes flashed, and the corner of his mouth curved into a sneer. "If you want to get rid of us, let's see if you have the ability to do so." He didn't go down to kill them, because now was not the right time, so it was better not to do so. If he exposed his strength, he would lose a trump card. Immediately he left the place. His target tonight was not Nanfengyan but Chengfeng. Soon he arrived at the depths of the palace. Although there were many spies around, he easily avoided them. Unless they were spies at the core transformation stage or above, he could easily avoid them. This should be the place. Etienne's figure flashed, and he arrived at the inner palace. He didn't even get close to it, but he heard a roar coming from inside. I told you not to get so close to me. Did you hear me? Stay away from me. Don't get so close to me. Chengfeng's voice came. He didn't expect that he would still be so worried. Once bitten, twice shy. He was completely frightened. He estimated that he would need a few days to fully recover. Etienne's eyes flashed, and he took out the 100 transformation mask and put it on his face. At the same time, he tied a black cloth to cover his face. Then he quickly skimmed over the ceiling and arrived at the top of the room to observe the situation. This is the information you collected? Chengfeng took a pile of papers, and after flipping through them, he threw them at the shadow guard in front of him. It's all rubbish. There is no useful information, especially the Heaven's Top Mansion. I can't find anything. I really can't find any trace of an expert in the Heaven's Top Mansion. I only saw a mansion lord who lost his cultivation. Other than that, I can't find any clues. The shadow guard was hit by the stack of papers and he couldn't dodge. If there were no experts, how could they have killed so many shadow guards that I had arranged? Chengfeng's eyes were full of killing intent. They killed so many of my shadow guards, I can't wait to kill them. If it wasn't for the higher-ups who said to investigate the situation and see if they can be recruited, they would have already destroyed the Heaven's Top Mansion. I have so many shadow guards and puppets. If they can't be recruited, then it's useless to say anything. In his anger, he picked up another chair and smashed it towards the shadow guard, smashing it into pieces with a pung. Forget it, I'm too lazy to investigate. Go and capture the Heaven's Top Mansion's trash mansion lord, and force the so-called mysterious expert out. I thought I could see the mysterious expert this time, but I didn't expect to see an arrogant kid. Chengfeng said angrily. No matter how strong the opponent is, I don't believe that he is stronger than our Netherworld Empire. Even if he is a dragon, he has to bow down to me. Chapter 240. Etienne's eyes flashed. Sure enough, it was just like what he thought. They wanted to recruit them, otherwise they would really send an army to their doorstep. The reason why they were invited to this banquet was to see the true face of the mysterious strong man. Who would have thought that the strong man was actually Etienne? Although the cultivation of the shadow guards was not high, they were still at the level of spirit core. It took a lot of resources to train them. How could Chengfeng not be angry when so many of them died? However, he really didn't expect that these shadow guards were trained by Chengfeng. This was a little out of his expectations. Sir, can't we just kill them? The shadow guard said. Even if they have some value, if we can't use them, it's meaningless. It's better to destroy them, then Heaven's Top Mansion will belong to us. Bullshit. You think I don't want to do that? Chengfeng shouted. Now we are short of power. The Heavenly Dragon Empire has been suppressing us, and the Spirit Clan has not been completely suppressed. The higher-ups still have some hope for Heaven's Top Mansion. They think that we have interfered too much and provoked their anger. Heaven's Top Mansion is declining. As long as we give them some benefits, they will definitely come to us. But they killed so many of my shadow guards, I can't swallow this anger. If we don't show them our strength, they will think that our Netherworld Empire is afraid of them. As he spoke, he picked up another chair and threw it to the side. He was now smashing things to vent his anger. What if they resist? The shadow guard asked. Then kill them all. Leave no one alive. I will tell the higher-ups that Heaven's Top Mansion and Heaven's Top Mansion are the same. Chengfeng said coldly. Only death awaits them if they resist our Netherworld Empire. They are a bunch of trash. If they don't want to surrender, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Yes. The shadow guard didn't hesitate and nodded. His figure became fainter and disappeared from the room. He was ready to go to Heaven's Top Mansion to capture those people. They wanted to force out the strong cultivator from Heaven's Top Mansion and give them one last chance. Just as the shadow guard stepped out of the door, a figure silently appeared behind him, waving a sharp blade. It easily pierced through the shadow guard's heart. At the same time, he swiftly covered the shadow guard's mouth, not allowing him to make a sound. His eyes widened, and his body struggled a little, but how could he break free from Yi Tianyun's strength? In the end, his body went limp, and he collapsed on top of Yi Tianyun. Thing. Successfully killed Shadow Guard. Reward, 250,000 EXP, 3200 Crazy Point, 50 SPs. Obtain Martial Art Dark Shadow Steps. The sin value was not low, it was a full 50 points. It was enough to show how many people these Shadow Guards had killed. It should be said that there was no one in the Netherworld Empire who was not stained with blood. As for how much blood was shed by innocent people, no one knew. After Yi Tianyun defeated the Shadow Guard, he placed him to one side. His eyes flickered for a moment, and he quickly stripped off the Shadow Guard's clothes and put them on himself. Wearing this black veil, he looked no different from a Shadow Guard. There wasn't much difference. Dark Shadow Steps. Yi Tianyun used Dark Shadow Steps, which is the exclusive martial art of Shadow Guards, and quickly disappeared in place. Not long after he stepped into the room, Cheng Feng, who was sitting there drinking tea, looked at Yi Tianyun and said, "What's the situation?" Sure enough, it's easy to detect Yi Tianyun's location. Their spiritual power is very sensitive, so they can easily detect Yi Tianyun's location. Cheng Feng is not an ordinary person. Ordinary people can't be a minister. In fact, it doesn't matter what position he has. A core transformation stage cultivation is enough to explain everything. It's just that he is a greedy person. It is clear that he came to Yi Tianyun's birthday. Yi Tianyun looked up, and detailed information appeared in front of him. Cheng Feng, cultivation level 5 of core transformation stage. Not wearing any protective gear. Overall combat power is 1.9 million. Weakness. Left arm injury, can't move easily. Martial arts. Heaven shaking palm, golden body secrets, etc. Killed may drop heaven shaking palm, high grade earth level martial art. Golden body secrets, high grade earth level martial art, rare. 20 times experience card, rare. Spirit clan prison key. After Yi Tianyun probed, he was shocked by the data. As expected of a core transformation expert. He didn't wear any protective gear or any weapon. And he already reached almost 2 million combat power. At that time, Evil Blood Ancestor's combat power was only more than 2 million. If he uses his full strength, it can be imagined how terrifying it will be. Among them, he saw the golden body secrets. Obviously, he has the golden body secrets, so he doesn't wear any armor. As for the weakness, it is created by him. And the injury has not recovered, so it must be a weakness. If he uses the golden body secrets, he probably won't be injured, but before he uses the golden body secrets, he really can't bear the damage of this high-grade soul weapon. How strong must his body be to be able to bear the attack of this weapon without using any martial arts? But the Spirit Clan prison key made him a little stunned, and this guy also dropped it. What's wrong? What's the matter? Cheng Feng frowned and looked at him, feeling a little strange. Yi Tianyun came in and didn't speak. Master, there is still an important matter that has not been reported. Yi Tianyun lowered his voice, imitating the previous Shadow Guard's voice, not completely similar, but at least half similar. What's the matter? Say it. Cheng Feng didn't seem to hear it, mainly because Yi Tianyun just used the Shadow Step, a unique skill that only Shadow Guards can use. Others can't imitate it. Yes, Master. Yi Tianyun took out a piece of paper from his arms, which was originally in the Shadow Guard's hands, but the content of the paper was a list of secret tasks to be done, such as killing a person from a family. He took the paper and walked over, but before he took a few steps, Cheng Feng stretched out his hand to stop him and said, "Don't come over, didn't I just say, don't come near me? Just throw that information to me." Yi Tianyun stopped in his tracks. If he attacked from such a distance, the difficulty would increase exponentially, and there was no way for him to launch a sneak attack. He didn't expect the bad luck divine pill to slightly hinder his sneak attack plan. Helpless, Yi Tianyun could only throw the paper over. It floated in the air and landed in Cheng Feng's hands. Chapter 241. When Cheng Feng picked up the paper and lowered his head to look at the content, he was the least vigilant. Because his attention was focused on the paper, he would not notice himself. At the moment of preparation, Tianyan instantly activated all his power, without holding back. Crazy damage mode activate. With a loud bang, his combat power skyrocketed in a straight line, soaring 8 times in an instant. 1 5 million. 1 8 million. 2 million. 3 million. 3 5 million. 3 9 million. Finally, it stopped when it was about 4 million. The moment it erupted, he had already rushed over. Cheng Feng immediately sensed that something was wrong and looked in their direction. At this moment, Tianyan's hands flashed and a frost fist erupted. The extreme cold exploded. In an instant, Cheng Feng was frozen. Although it could not freeze him for a long time, for him, as long as he could freeze him for a few seconds, he would be the winner. Die. In the blink of an eye, Tianyan had already rushed in front of Cheng Feng. He waved the blood dragon bone blade in his hand and stabbed at his heart. The violent power set off a huge wave, slapping behind him. It was much stronger than when he was dealing with the blood fiend patriarch. It even caused a huge blood dragon phantom to appear, and it pierced through Cheng Feng's chest. Open! Cheng Feng roared. The freezing effect could not last for a second at all, and he broke free. In the next moment, he burst out with all his strength. His whole body flashed with a golden light. It could be said that in an instant, his whole body was plated with a layer of gold. The surging metal spiritual power surged in all directions, forming a special space around his body. Because it was too sudden, he could only catch the weapon with his bare hands. Tianyan was not surprised. He completely ignored the palm in front of him and slashed at it. He. When the blood dragon bone blade stabbed him, it made an ear-piercing sound when it came into contact with the metal spiritual power shield on the surface of his body. It was like the sound of metal rubbing against each other, making people feel uncomfortable. Tianyan instantly felt a wave of resistance, but with his domineering strength, he was able to pierce through it. After piercing through the shield in one fell swoop, Cheng Feng quickly dodged to the back. At the same time, he reached out to block the attack. However, Tianyan's speed was temporarily a level higher than his. He quickly caught up and continued to stab forward. Cheng Feng roared and reached out to grab the blood dragon bone blade. A dang sound rang out as the two collided. He didn't expect that when he stabbed Cheng Feng, he would feel as if he had collided with a weapon. However, with Tianyan's insane strength, he could still cut it open easily. Poochie. The blood dragon formed by the blood dragon bone blade bit down and pierced through it as easily as if it was a piece of tofu. The blood dragon bone blade was a high-grade soul weapon. Coupled with his frightening strength, he could kill gods and Buddhas if he met gods. Bastard! Cheng Feng bit his tongue, and his golden face blossomed with a red light. He completely ignited his own blood essence, and all of a sudden his strength exploded. Whether it was his speed or strength, they were all greatly improved. However, he didn't counterattack. Instead, he quickly dodged to the side. In a situation where he didn't have any weapons, or in a situation where he couldn't recover, he was in a passive situation. He could only dodge first. After exploding his strength, under Tianyan's appraisal eye, Cheng Feng's combat strength instantly soared. In an instant, it exploded to 3,450,000, and it could still continue to increase. In an instant his speed increased, and he dodged to the side. He was even faster than Tianyan. If this continued, he would definitely escape from the attack range. At this moment, Tianyan quickly changed his strategy. With all his strength, he fiercely slashed upwards, as fast as lightning. Following that, an arrow of blood sprayed out, sprinkling in the area. Following that, a golden arm flew out. After spinning a few rounds in the air, it fell to the ground, and the golden light quickly dimmed. At this time, Cheng Feng had already escaped, but he had lost an arm. Fortunately, he dodged quickly. Otherwise, it wouldn't just be an arm, but half of his body. So what if it was the golden body secret art? It could still be cut into 2 pieces. If Cheng Feng wasn't confident, he would have put on some treasured clothes, and the injury would definitely not be so bad. Ah! Cheng Feng screamed. How could he not be in pain after losing half of his arm? However, he quickly stopped the bleeding, stabilized his body, and took out a pill and stuffed it into his mouth. This time he wouldn't take the wrong pill. After all, he didn't activate the bad luck pill. After taking it, the bleeding stopped immediately. This was definitely a life-saving pill. Tianyan didn't stop attacking. He took a step forward, rolled up a blood chi, and stabbed towards Chengfeng. The domineering blood dragon roared and enveloped the entire hall. Don't be presumptuous. Chengfeng's eyes were filled with killing intent. In the blink of an eye, a jade pendant appeared in his hand. It looked very special. Immediately after that, he crushed the jade pendant. In the next moment, a phantom appeared in front of him. This was the majesty of a king. The phantom of a king. It gave Tianyan the feeling of a king. This feeling was much stronger than the feeling he got from Spirit King Xiantian. Tianyan quickly used the appraisal eye to check the details of the phantom. The phantom of the Netherworld Great Emperor. Peak of core transformation stage. Lasts for 10 seconds. Combat power 5 million. A total of 6 million combat power, and this was only the surface. When he attacked, he would definitely burst out with more power. This was not the real Netherworld Great Emperor himself. Instead, he suppressed his power in the jade pendant and formed a special talisman. As long as he crushed it, he would be able to release the power contained in it. This was the best proof that the battle would not last for a long time. 10 seconds was the best proof. But in front of such a strong person, 10 seconds was more than enough for him to make a lot of moves and resist a lot of attacks. The Netherworld Great Emperor. Tianyan's face sank. It was as if a thick wall was blocking in front of him, making him unable to move forward. This power is more than 2 million battle power compared to his own power at his limit. The Netherworld Great Emperor's deep eyes were filled with the majesty of a king. He opened his big hand and tried to envelop Tianyan. Netherworld Divine Palm. The huge palm was fiercely slapped down. In an instant, a huge palm condensed in the void. It was so huge that it covered the entire hall. Tianyan couldn't escape unless he ran out of the hall. But judging from the current situation, it was too late for him to escape. He could only resist. Chapter 242. The terrifying Netherworld Divine Palm pressed down from the sky. The pressure that filled the sky was terrifying and a lot of the surrounding palaces were destroyed. Even the world itself was shaking because of it. Tianyan looked up at the giant palm. The terrifying power reached more than 7 million battle power. After using martial arts, the power suddenly rose to more than 1 million battle power. This is the level of the peak of core transformation stage. But this is only the effect of the phantom. If the real peak of core transformation stage is here, it will be far more than this value. Boy, no matter who you are, pretending to be my shadow guard, you must die. Chengfeng roared. Clutching his broken arm, his face was pale, but the anger in his eyes could not be easily extinguished. His arm was chopped off, basically cannot be reattached. Although there is a divine pill that can regenerate the arm, but the price to pay is extremely high. How can this not make him angry? He is sure that the person in front of him is not a shadow guard. The shadow guard will not betray him. Not to mention they don't have these weapons, techniques, and strength. Tianyan looked at the giant palm, his eyes flashed, and suddenly his figure disappeared in front of Chengfeng. Everything happened so suddenly that Chengfeng was stunned. How can he suddenly disappear? Could it be that he had concealed himself? But that's not right, he didn't see Tianyan's figure at all. With his cultivation, he should be able to see where Tianyan is hiding, but he can't see Tianyan at all. Boom. Following that, the Netherworld Divine Palm came crashing down heavily on the ground, triggering a violent explosion that almost tore the entire palace apart. At least, the study room where Chengfeng was has been blown up, turned into ruins. The deafening sound resounded throughout the entire palace, causing many guards to quickly rush over. Huff, huff, bastard, this time you will die. I can't see where you are, but I don't believe you can hide. Chengfeng gasped to relieve the pain in his wound. The pain of a broken arm is not so easy to relieve. The Netherworld Great Emperor's projection looked around, but he didn't see any enemies. 10 seconds passed very quickly, and then the talisman gradually disappeared. Chengfeng's eyes were red as he looked at the dusty area in front of him. It was as if he could see Yi Tianyun's corpse lying on the ground. When the dust was about to disperse, a scarlet cold light flickered behind Chengfeng's back. Puchi. It penetrated Chengfeng's body. A bone blade that looked like a dragon pierced through his chest and came into Chengfeng's line of sight. Why are you hiding behind me? Chengfeng's eyes were filled with fear. There was no place to hide from the Netherworld Emperor's attack. Even if he wanted to hide behind the Netherworld Emperor, it was impossible. After all, the Netherworld Great Emperor was blocking their way. If they wanted to pass through here, they would have to enter the Netherworld Great Emperor's line of sight. As long as he entered the line of sight of the Netherworld Great Emperor, he would definitely be attacked. Otherwise, the talisman would be useless. You don't need to know this. Just die for me. Yi Tianyun fiercely pulled the blood dragon bone blade to the side. He didn't choose to attack Chengfeng's head. Instead, he chose to attack Chengfeng's chest, just in case. Chengfeng's cultivation was not weak. At the critical moment, he would erupt with power. The area of the neck was too small. If he missed, then his sneak attack would fail. If he attacked the body, then it would be very easy to hit. Now the effect was pretty good. Chengfeng's waist was directly cut in half. His upper body fell forward. Even if I die, I won't let you have an easy time. Chengfeng revealed a cruel smile. At the moment when he fell down, a jade pendant appeared in his hand and he ruthlessly crushed it. The Netherworld Great Emperor's projection immediately appeared. He looked at Yi Tianyun with an indifferent gaze and coldly stared at him. The moment he appeared, he stretched out his hand to grab Yi Tianyun. The Netherworld Divine Palm was once again displayed. A terrifying palm that could crush the void ruthlessly slapped towards Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun's expression changed. This time he couldn't dodge easily. Previously, he could only dodge because of his instantaneous movement. This was a trump card for escaping. In an instant he escaped behind Chengfeng and hid. As long as the distance was a little further, Yi Tianyun wouldn't be able to find him. Now that instantaneous movement had entered a cooldown period, he needed a whole 10 minutes to use it again. But now he didn't even need 10 minutes. 10 seconds was enough for the Netherworld Great Emperor to suppress him. Damn it. Yi Tianyun didn't expect that Chengfeng would have another jade pendant. The Netherworld Great Emperor really valued him too much. He actually gave him an extra one. The difficulty of creating this item was not low. It required a Divine Rune Grandmaster to create it. Chengfeng had a high status. There were many people who wanted to assassinate him. Of course, he needed a protective talisman to protect himself. Netherworld Divine Palm. An ancient aura slapped over. Chengfeng, who was lying on the ground far away, could still look at Yi Tianyun with a mocking expression. It was as if he could already see the end of the life of the assassin. Boom. A heavy palm slapped down. A large part of the building collapsed. The entire palace shook. However, after the explosion, a completely unscathed Yi Tianyun appeared in front of Chengfeng. There wasn't a single injury on his body. He took out a black cloak and lightly swung it. The shadow cloak was immune to all attacks for 5 seconds. The grade of the cloak wasn't high, but its effect was definitely at the divine level. Even the Netherworld Divine Palm was immune to it. Chengfeng's eyes widened. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He didn't expect that the Netherworld Great Emperor wouldn't be able to cause any damage to his opponent. However, when he was immune to all attacks, the Netherworld Great Emperor slapped out again. He only knew one move, and that was the Netherworld Divine Palm. Strike after strike bombarded Chengfeng. In a short period of 5 seconds, the Netherworld Great Emperor had actually slapped out 3 times. Fortunately, he had the shadow cloak. Otherwise, he would have long been sent flying. Immunity effect disappears. At this time, the immunity effect had disappeared. However, his opponent could still persist for 5 seconds. A short period of 5 seconds was enough for a strong cultivator to do a lot of things. The Netherworld Great Emperor's shadow had already become very dim. However, he still aimed at Yi Tianyun and sent out another palm. Damn it! There's still one more palm. Yi Tianyun felt that this was the last palm. He could only try his best to block it. Dragon God Bloodline open. Xiantian Divine Art, open. Chapter 243. Yi Tianyan activated his strongest defense. It's impossible for him to fight against the opponent, so he can only strengthen his own defense to resist the attack. Yi Tianyan activated his Dragon God Bloodline and Xiantian Divine Art, but the palm hit his body. Boom! Yi Tianyan felt like his body was torn apart. He was sent flying and heavily hit the wall behind him. When his sturdy body slammed into the wall, countless cracks appeared on the wall. He had almost pierced through the wall. Humph! Yi Tianyan groaned and fell from the wall, half kneeling on the ground. Cough, cough, cough. Yi Tianyan violently coughed a few times. He was slightly injured, but there were no obvious scars on his body. However, Yi Tianyan felt like his internal organs were displaced. The power of this palm was amazing. Fortunately, his defense is even more amazing. With the combination of Dragon God Bloodline and Xiantian Divine Art, his defense reached a new height. Coupled with the titles of Guardian, his defense has reached an amazing level. Although he couldn't completely defend against the attack, at least most of it was blocked. After casting this palm, the phantom of the Netherworld Great Emperor gradually disappeared. He didn't continue to cast the next palm, the previous one was too fierce. This talisman can store a certain amount of energy, but it doesn't mean that it's infinite. There will always be a limit. After the talisman dissipated, Yi Tianyan stood up and coughed a few times. His injuries are not bad. If not for his strong defense, he would have been half crippled. The Netherworld Divine Palm has 6 million battle power. If he didn't die, he would have been crippled. Yi Tianyan walked over to Chengfeng. Now Chengfeng only has half of his body left. He's on the verge of death. If he was an ordinary person, he would have already died, but Yi Tianyan is a core transformation expert, so his vitality is relatively tenacious. This is the Xiantian Divine Art. You are from the Heaven's Top Mansion. Chengfeng's eyes widened in disbelief. When he saw the Xiantian Divine Art, he immediately recognized it. This martial art was one of the reasons why they wanted to enlist. It was for this Xiantian Divine Art. He wanted to recruit the Heaven's Top Mansion, and then slowly get the heavenly profound divine technique out. Although the Netherworld Empire also had a lot of powerful martial arts, who would complain about not having enough powerful martial arts. Some were especially suitable to cultivate the Xiantian Divine Technique, so they needed it. If it weren't for the Xiantian Divine Art, Heaven's Top Mansion would have been razed to the ground. Recruiting them would give them more strength, but the most important thing was the Xiantian Divine Art. Without the Xiantian Divine Art, Heaven's Top Mansion is nothing. It would be easy to flatten them directly, but it did not mean that they could force the Xiantian Divine Art out of them. They could only choose a gentle approach. You guessed it, I'm from Heaven's Top Mansion. Yi Tianyan took off his veil. He even took off the 100 transformation mask. He looked at him coldly and said, "You want to capture Heaven's Top Mansion's people, and you want to destroy Heaven's Top Mansion?" "Yes, it's you." Chengfeng was shocked to see Yi Tianyan die. Before he died, he was shocked. He never thought that Yi Tianyan would come to assassinate him. How can such a young boy have such terrifying strength? He instantly understood who the mysterious expert of Heaven's Top Mansion is. However, it was too late. Chengfeng was already dead, and he died with his eyes wide open. Ding. Successfully killed Chengfeng. Gained 460,000 EXP, 4,500 Crazy Point, 200 SPS. Obtain Martial Art Golden Body Secret Rare. Obtain Netherworld Talisman, Summon Netherworld Emperor's Shadow, 20 times EXP card Rare. Spirit Race Prison Key Rare. Ding. Congratulations to player Yi Tianyan. Successfully killed a super elite, got an extra enhanced lottery roulette, extra level up. Ding. Congratulations to player Yi Tianyan. Successfully broke through to Spirit Core Peak. What? Yi Tianyan was dumbfounded. This time he didn't get a level upgrade card, he directly leveled up. Looking at the empty EXP in the property bar, Yi Tianyan suddenly wanted to cry. He only had a few million EXP left to level up, but the extra EXP was emptied. This means that the previous tens of millions of EXP was wasted. Yi Tianyan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Why didn't they change it to a level upgrade card this time, but directly forced him to level up? It seems that it depends on the situation. It's much better to use a level upgrade card. Yi Tianyan shifted his attention to Cheng Feng. I have to say, this guy is really poor. He didn't even drop a single weapon, but it's all rare items, it's worth it. Yi Tianyan quickly took Cheng Feng's storage ring. In fact, it doesn't matter whether he drops anything or not. The storage ring on his body is enough. The treasures here were all offered by the manor heads. Now that they were all in his possession, he must be overflowing with wealth. Sir, what happened? Yi Tianyan quickly put on a mask and disappeared from the scene. The guards quickly rushed over to Yi Tianyan's side, and Yi Tianyan's figure quickly disappeared from the scene. Soon, the guards quickly arrived because the outside had collapsed, so they could only crawl over, naturally not too fast. The power of the Netherworld Divine Palm was too strong. Naturally they couldn't rush over quickly. When they rushed over, they found Cheng Feng's body here. They were immediately shocked. Sir Cheng. They quickly rushed over, a little bit checked the aura, a little bit, their faces became pale. They didn't expect Sir Cheng to die like this. Looking at the tragic state of death, they couldn't look directly at it. Cheng Feng was so strong. How could he die here? They don't know what kind of strong expert came here. Quickly search the whole area. A leading general calmed down and gave the order to search the whole area. Although Cheng Feng is dead, there are still many generals here. Immediately gave the order to search the whole area. One of the guards stood up, took out a cannon, quickly pulled it. A burst of fireworks rushed into the sky, followed by an explosion. The whole imperial city's army looked over. Their expressions immediately changed. They started a comprehensive search to see if there were any suspicious people. Yi Tianyan sneaked away, but his body felt a little serious. The power of the palm just now was too strong. Although he blocked it, it still made him feel very uncomfortable. This made it difficult for him to hide. His figure was faintly discernible. This injury needs to be treated a little. Yi Tianyan felt a little dizzy. The Netherworld Divine Palm was not an undeserved reputation. It had a special effect. The person who was hit by it will have a blurred vision for a short period of time, affecting the state of the battle. Check this side. At this time, a guard came over to search. Yi Tianyan hurriedly raised his head. Immediately his figure flashed. He arrived in front of one of the houses. With a perfect jump, he jumped in through the air window at the top. But just as he landed, a cold light flashed, pointing in his direction. Who is it? A delicate voice came. Chapter 244. Miss you, don't be angry. I will stay for a while and then leave. When Yi Tianyan saw Yu Shiqian, he smiled bitterly. Who would have thought that this was Yu Shiqian's room? This was the closest room he could find. It was useless to hide on the roof. He had to hide in the room. If he hadn't been hit by the Netherworld Divine Palm, he wouldn't have needed to hide. After all, no one would be able to find him. As for flying, that was even more difficult. Even though they could fly very fast, they would still be discovered, and it was easy to cause a disturbance. He didn't rule out the possibility that there might be other core transformation cultivators in this room, so he had to be careful. I will stay for a while, but who are you? Yu Shiqian said coldly. She pointed her sword at Yi Tianyan, and didn't relax at all. In the middle of the night, hiding in such a noisy environment was definitely not a good person. Yu Shiqian didn't dare to relax, so she kept pointing her sword at Yi Tianyan. Me. Yi Tianyan's figure flashed and appeared behind Yu Shiqian. He grabbed her hands and pressed his body against her back. Miss, you don't move. Yu Shiqian was shocked. She didn't even have time to react. Yi Tianyan was already behind her and completely controlled her. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't break free from Yi Tianyan's grip. Her whole body was locked in place. Yi Tianyan was hit by the Netherworld Divine Palm, but his condition is not bad. He can't even walk, but he can't use his concealment skill anymore. Concealment skills required players to conceal all of their strength. Only then could they achieve the effect of concealment. How could he hide when the Netherworld Divine Palm's effect was on him? He could only wait for the effect to disappear, then he could hide again. You, what do you want to do? Yu Shiqian felt the heat on her back, and a man's scent entered her nose. making her feel extremely embarrassed. She wanted to resist, but she couldn't. She was completely immobilized. The worst part was that he pressed his body against her, so she couldn't move. Tianyan didn't want to do this, but he was afraid that Yu Shiqian would lose her mind. If he didn't come closer, Yu Shiqian would probably kick him, and that would be fatal. Yu Shiqian's cultivation is not very high, but she is still a core condensation cultivator. If he kicks her a few times, it will not be fun. Miss Rain, I've already said that it's nothing. You just have to stay here and not move. I really just want to hide here for a while. Tianyan didn't have any other thoughts. Even though he was so close to her, he didn't have any other thoughts. He just wanted to hide here for a while, not to rape her. Then why aren't you leaving? Yu Shiqian blushed. She was embarrassed and annoyed. She had never been so close to a man before, and they were practically hugging each other. If someone saw it here, he would never be able to clear his name. Then don't call for help, and don't do anything, Tianyan said. Okay. Yu Shiqian glared at him, and bit her lips. Then Tianyan quickly let go of her hand and moved to the side. But just as he moved, Yu Shiqian stabbed him with her sword. You pervert. Tianyan reached out and caught the sword. He is now at the peak of spirit core stage. He is much stronger than Yu Shiqian. He is a whole realm higher than her. So many realms higher than her. As long as she doesn't deliberately let herself be killed, she won't be able to kill him. Miss Rain, I told you not to move, but here you are again. Tianyan said helplessly. Just a little bit, I won't touch you. Yu Shiqian snorted coldly. She let go of her sword and dodged to the side, glaring at him angrily. How could she let go of her anger so easily? If it wasn't for Tianyan's cultivation being too strong, she would have already attacked him. Who are you? What happened outside? Yu Shiqian thought for a moment and asked. You don't need to know, you will know tomorrow, don't worry. Tianyan smiled indifferently. He didn't show his face, he didn't know Yu Shiqian, he didn't need to show his face to her. He didn't want to show his face. Dong dong dong. At this time, someone knocked on the door. Is there anyone inside? Come to check. The guard's voice came from outside. It seems like they are going to check the rooms one by one. If someone is missing, it will be a big problem. Yu Shiqian was startled and looked at Tianyan. Tianyan nodded and signaled her to open the door. Yu Shiqian hesitated for a moment and stood up to open the door. If she didn't open the door, it would be impossible for them to give up. She opened the door. When the guard saw Yu Shiqian, he said seriously, "There is a problem. Please cooperate with us and allow us to check the room." Why are you checking the room in the middle of the night? Yu Shiqian frowned. She didn't say that Tianyan was inside. In fact, she didn't have a good impression of the Netherworld Empire. Moreover, they suddenly came to check the room in the middle of the night. That's none of your business. If you don't check the room, then don't blame us for being impolite. The guard's cultivation was not low. Even if his cultivation was low, he could still be so overbearing. The Netherworld Empire's name was enough. Resisting was the same as rebelling against the Netherworld Empire. No, this is my room. Why are you checking? Yu Shiqian resisted. Break in. The guards rushed in and broke the door. They didn't care about Yu Shiqian at all. Yu Shiqian was startled. She quickly turned around and saw that there was no one behind her. She let out a sigh of relief. She didn't know why she let out a sigh of relief. They weren't related to each other. After searching for half a day with them, they still couldn't find a single person. All of them left with cold faces, not even bothering to say a word. Their overbearingness was evident. At the same time, the Great Elder was also being searched. Open the door, check the room. Grandpa, what should we do? Why did they suddenly come to check the room? If they find out that Tianyan is missing, we will be in trouble. Musianer said anxiously. Tianyan had been gone for a long time. We can only delay for a while. I don't know when Tianyan will come back. They didn't know why they were checking the room, but they were sure that it was not something good. Bang! Before they could think further, the door was smashed open. It was very rough. The guard rushed in and looked at them coldly. Why did you not open the door? Where is your mansion master? Our mansion master. The great elder didn't know how to explain. What's wrong? I want to sleep, but I can't. Tianyan came out from behind the screen. He yawned and looked at them helplessly. After the guard saw it, he snorted coldly. It's good that they're all here. If not, then you'll be in big trouble. The guard turned around and left. He didn't stay for long. As long as Tianyan was here, their task was over. Chapter 245. Mansion Lord, when did you come back? The great elder said with a sigh of relief when he saw Tianyan. Fortunately, Tianyan came back in time, otherwise the problem would be troublesome. He disappeared in front of so many eyes. Even if he didn't do anything, they will frame him. We just came back. We were almost found out. If that happened, we would be in trouble. Tianyan also felt that it was a bit dangerous. If they really broke in and didn't see him, then it would be very troublesome. Unless he killed them all, he must have something up his sleeves. With so many people watching him, he must have some ability to sneak out. As for what he did, the Netherworld Empire would have to interrogate him. Especially now that Cheng Feng was dead, there would be more trouble. Mansion Lord, what did you do just now? The great elder asked quietly. You will know tomorrow. Tianyan smiled and walked inside. I'm going to take a rest first. Call me if you have any questions. They looked at each other, and didn't know why Tianyan was so mysterious. But since he didn't say anything, they were too embarrassed to ask. Tianyan came to the corner of the room and meditated. Of course, he didn't come here to sleep, he came here to cultivate. After meditating, he chose the Spirit Core Stage upgrade card. If his cultivation exceeded this level, he wouldn't be able to use it. Use upgrade card. Ding. Successfully used upgrade card. Ding. Congratulations to player, Tianyan, for successfully breaking through to level 1 core transformation stage. In an instant, Tianyan felt that his power has increased a lot, and he has entered a whole new realm. His control of spiritual power had been greatly improved. When he reached this level, he would be able to fly. Using the phoenix wings at this time was the time to display its strongest effect. His speed would increase by several times on the original basis. Let's check my combat power. Tianyan checked his combat power. When he was at 9th level of Spirit Core Realm, his combat power was about 500,000, which seems low. But in a real battle, his combat power was much more than that. After all, he had many bonuses including weapons, armors, and martial arts. When all of them were added together, their strength would reach an astonishing level. But Crazy Mode was only based on the most basic combat power. So no matter how powerful the weapon was, it couldn't explode without cultivation. The combat power of a 9th level Spirit Core Cultivator was about 500,000, while the combat power of a peak Spirit Core Cultivator was about 550,000. One could only imagine how great the increase in level would be. If it was multiplied by tens of thousands and multiplied by 8 times, the effect would be completely different. As for level 1 core transformation stage, his combat power had reached 800,000 combat power. All of a sudden, his battle power increased by 250,000, which was a qualitative leap. This made him suck in a mouthful of cold air. No wonder Cheng Feng has nearly 2 million battle power without any equipment. In the case of subtracting some bonuses, it was normal for his combat power to increase by 200,000 or 300,000 per level. When he reached the 5th level of the core transformation stage, his combat power was indeed more than 2 million. No wonder the higher the level, the more difficult it was to fight. The increase in combat power at each level was amazing. It was just a difference of 1 level, but it was like a chasm. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't close the gap. The only thing that could make up for the gap was weapons. Extremely powerful weapons and divine runes could increase his combat power by hundreds of thousands. So this was a very important way to fight. In addition, there were medicinal pills, which could quickly close the gap between the two. 800,000 combat power, if I use Crazy Mode. Tianyan's eyes lit up. With his current strength, he could easily suppress Cheng Feng. His combat power had reached 6 per million, which was terrifying. This was the importance of level. The higher the level, the stronger the basic explosive power. Anyway, I can open the level 41 gift pack now. Let's see what's inside. Tianyan was more concerned about the level 41 gift pack. There were always a lot of good things inside. This time should be no exception. Ding. Successfully opened level 41 gift pack. Obtained 30 times EXP card, 5 times proficiency card, 5 times crazy point card, 2 times sin value card. Successfully learned pet capture beginner mastery. A lot of EXP cards dropped, and the most important thing was the pet capture mastery. Beginner mastery of pet capture. Can capture any creature other than humans as its own pet. The higher the level, the higher the probability of capturing it, and the higher the level it could capture. What should come has come. Tianyan didn't have many pets. One was Snow Wolf King, and the other was Black Dragon. Both of them were very strong, but it was still not enough. Now that he has the pet capture skill, it's different. He can go crazy and capture demon beasts as pets. There are also beast tamers here, but they have to train their demon beasts from childhood to become their personal companion. Adult demon beasts can also be domesticated, but the difficulty is too high, but there are still people who can do it. In general, most of them are domesticated from childhood, so the number is relatively small. It's impossible to control a lot of them at the same time. Now Tianyan's pet capture mastery is different. He can use it as soon as he catches it. This means that in the future, if he sees a demon beast that is pleasing to the eye, he can easily capture it and use it as a gatekeeper. It really didn't disappoint me. The items in this gift pack are really good. I wonder what will be in the next gift pack. Tianyan was full of anticipation. Tianyan then activated the enhanced lottery roulette. He got a lucky draw before. This time he can't waste it. After activating Luck Aura, the lottery roulette spun so fast that it's dazzling. I don't care this time, I want whatever I get. Tianyan felt that it doesn't matter what he gets, it's free anyway. Very quickly, the lottery roulette stopped at the weapon. This was the first time he had drawn a weapon. With a ding-dong, a jade box fell out. After he opened the box, a weapon appeared in front of him. Ice Divine Bow. High-grade soul tool upgradable. Can release ice arrow to freeze the enemy into ice sculpture. The longest range increases with the increase of cultivation. Special effect. Consume 5,000 crazy point. Can erupt extreme ice arrow with twice the power, twice the speed, twice the distance, and cover the entire range within 1 mile. Good stuff. Tianyan's eyes lit up. He really appreciates long-range attack. Standing on the spot and being able to kill the enemy from thousands of miles away. This is the way of the king. Chapter 246. While Tianyan was laughing, everyone looked at each other, wondering if Tianyan was possessed. Grandpa, do you want to go and see? Mu Xian was a little worried. It's okay, it's just that he is a bit excited. The situation of the mansion lord is not something we can imagine. To be able to cultivate to this level at such a young age, there must be something special about him. The great elder stopped them from thinking and said. Tianyan didn't care about their gazes, his eyes were focused on the Ice Divine Bow. This is a very good weapon, at least he didn't waste it. After the lottery, Tianyan clicked on the current situation, and soon all the information was listed. Player, Tianyan level. 41 First Level Core Transformation Stage, EXP, 189, 3689 Crazy Point Prestige, 630 points Sin Point, 3556 Cultivation Technique, Dark North Divine Art, Dragon God Secret Art, Xian Tian Divine Art, Heaven Devouring Divine Art, Golden Body Secret Art Martial Arts, Absorbing Stars Great Technique, Blood Fiend Soaring Sky, Azure Cloud Sword Technique, Azure Cloud Steps Weapon, Frost Fist, Blood Fiend Divine Spear, Sword of Endlessness, Chaotic Heaven Sacred Axe, Blood Dragon Bone, Blade Ice Divine Bow Divine Armor, Shadow Cloak, Chaotic Heaven Divine Armor, Chaotic Heaven Battle Boots, Blood Fiend Divine Armor Divine Ability, Crazy Mode, Luck Aura Teleportation Bloodline, Dragon God Bloodline Decoration, Forging God Hammer, Power Bracelet, Power Ring, Power Belt, Blood Fiend Bracelet all items. 8 Recovery Medicinal Pill, Gift Pack LV41 Life X1, Blast Divine Pill, 20 times EXP card X2, Netherworld Amulet, 30 times EXP card, 5 times Proficiency card, 5 times Crazy, Point card, 2 times Sin Value card Treasure. Purple Fire Divine Furnace, Blood Jade Coiling Dragon Treasure Map, Jade Pearl, Commander Grimoire, Spirit Key Title, Guardian Savior Flame, Immortal Fire, what, 100 million EXP. When Tianyun saw the property bar, he was dumbfounded, especially the 100 million EXP. When he was at the peak of the Spirit Core stage, his cultivation was only 60 million, but when he reached the Core Transformation stage, his cultivation jumped to 100 million. Previously, it had been very difficult to level up with more than 50 million EXP. Now that he had 100 million EXP, even if he could obtain 1 million EXP with each kill, he would still have to kill over 100 to level up. One could imagine just how frightening it was. Fortunately, he had a lot of experience cards. If there were a lot of demonic beasts, he could level up. He felt helpless and could only take it one step at a time. Recently, there were no more missions popping up. No mission popped up this time. It could only be said that the situation here didn't meet the requirements for the mission, so it didn't pop up. After the lucky draw, he had nothing else to do. All that was left was to wait until the next day. In the blink of an eye, it was the second day. It was a quiet night. However, they were not released. They were still forced to stay in the room. In this situation, they stayed like this for 2 days. Many people were wondering what was going on. They were not allowed to go out. Could it be that Qingfeng had not rested enough? They had promised to treat them well, but they were all locked up in their rooms and were not allowed to go out at all. Some of the more sensitive people had already smelled the smell of something strange. Finally, on the 3rd day, they were summoned to the palace. Every guard had a stern expression on their faces as they coldly watched them enter. When they gathered together again, the person who welcomed them was not Qingfeng, but another minister, who had probably rushed over. It's our Netherworld Empire's fault to keep you in the room for a few days. But this time, something very serious happened. Lin Hao's suddenly burst out. His cultivation was at the 7th level of Core Transformation stage, which was 2 levels higher than Chengfeng's. Although most of the palace lords were at the Core Transformation stage, they still felt a lot of pressure under Lin Hao's qi. As a minister of the Netherworld Empire, his cultivation level was naturally not low. Even if his cultivation level was the same, his martial arts were different, so the power released by him was naturally different. Lin Hao's words made many people's eyes flicker. They felt that something was wrong. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been allowed to stay in the room for so long. After being cooped up for a few days, they, as dignified manor heads, were like prisoners, locked up inside and unable to come out. They were still a little sullen. I believe that everyone has sensed something strange. I will tell everyone clearly, our minister Qingfeng has been assassinated by someone. Lin Hao's voice was extremely cold, as if the temperature in the palace had suddenly dropped by several degrees. In fact, it was true. A cold qi was released from Lin Hao's body, which made the temperature of the whole palace drop. Obviously, he was a strong cultivator of the ice attribute, so he could freeze everything. As soon as the news came out, the whole area was in an uproar. Many people were shocked. Qingfeng was a Core Transformation stage cultivator. How could he be killed just like that? Who would dare to assassinate a minister of the Netherworld Empire? This. The Great Elder turned his head and looked at Tianyun in horror. He immediately guessed that Tianyun went out that night to assassinate Qingfeng. Qingfeng was a Core Transformation stage cultivator. How could he be killed like that? Doesn't this mean that Tianyun's cultivation is higher than Qingfeng's? But they quickly recovered from the shock, and they didn't look at Tianyun. They can't let this matter be exposed. If other people knew about it, their Heaven's Top mansion would definitely be finished. No matter what sect you are from, you will suffer the wrath of the Netherworld Empire if you kill a minister of the Netherworld Empire. At the same time, Yu Shiqian's face changed. She remembered the man in black that night. Is he? Big sister, what's wrong? Zhao Yu saw that her complexion wasn't too good and asked. No, nothing. I'm just thinking about something. Who is so powerful that they dared to kill Lord Chung? Yu Shiqian didn't say it out loud. She didn't want to say it out loud, and it was a serious matter, so she didn't want to say it. Nan Fingyun's face also changed. He had a good relationship with Chung Feng. How could he just die like that? He spent a lot of money to build a good relationship with Chung Feng. He didn't expect that Chung Feng would suddenly die. Who would help him take care of the Divine Rune Mansion? What spirit races exchange? He was afraid that it had already become a fleeting cloud. Lin Hao looked around and said coldly, I don't know if you have anything to do with Chung Feng's death or not. After some investigation, I found that none of you came out of your room. It seems that it has nothing to do with you, but your cultivation is not low. It's not difficult for you to sneak into the mansion without being noticed. The mansion lord's face changed. Does this new minister want to use torture to extort a confession? Chapter 247. They didn't know whether the Netherworld Empire was angry or not, but at least they felt Lin Hao's anger. Lin Hao was obviously very angry. The death of a minister was equal to a slap in the face of the Netherworld Empire. As a person who had a good relationship with Chung Feng, Lin Hao was also extremely angry. After coldly looking at them, Lin Hao said in a deep voice, I'm not like Lord Chung who takes his time. I'm a person who prefers to be straightforward. This time, the Netherworld Emperor ordered Chung Feng to come here for one thing, and that is to hope that you can join the Netherworld Empire. Just after talking about Chung Feng's matter, he immediately began to talk about enlistment. The so-called joining was equal to being an affiliate. As long as you join our Netherworld Empire, you can enjoy a lot of resources. That includes our protection and the resources we provide, such as martial arts and the like. We can provide all of that. I believe that the strength of the Netherworld Empire is definitely much stronger than the forces present here. No one objected to Lin Hao's words. If it was not strong, how could it be called an empire? An empire was different from these forces. They occupied the entire continent and managed large and small sections. But the Heavenly Border continent was an exception. It was a vacant area and not under the jurisdiction of any empire. Because it was too far away, it was not easy to manage. There were many similar continents, so there were still a lot of free sections. Some empires were willing to recruit them. But the Heavenly Dragon Empire was under the jurisdiction of the Heavenly Dragon Empire. But under normal circumstances, they would not intervene in the affairs of the sections. The relationship between the Heavenly Dragon Empire and the Netherworld Empire had always been relatively deadlocked. There was basically no communication between them, and it was even more likely that a war would break out at any time. Lin Hao's words didn't surprise any of the palace lords. They certainly didn't come here for a meal. They must be enlistment. If you choose to join our Netherworld Empire, we will provide you with a lot of resources. Correspondingly, you must listen to our words. No matter what we do, you can't disobey our instructions. Under normal circumstances, we will not do anything to you as long as you obey our orders. If you don't choose to join our Netherworld Empire, we will not force you. Everything is up to you. Lin Hao looked at them and said in a low voice. They all believed that the first sentence was that they would certainly provide resources and interfere in the affairs of the sections. After spending so many resources, if they didn't care about anything, then what was the point of recruiting them? They were recruited to be used. As for what they would be sent to do, he had no idea. As for the last sentence, he really had to think about it carefully to see if it was true or not. This time, many sects were silent. What was to come would eventually come. However, some sects didn't even think about it, and immediately agreed. We are willing to join the Netherworld Empire and serve the Netherworld Empire. The first one to speak was Nan Fengyan of the Divine Rune Mansion. He had agreed to join the Netherworld Empire. Originally, they had a good relationship with the Netherworld Empire, so it was only natural for them to join the Netherworld Empire. Lin Hao nodded. He was very satisfied with Nan Fengyan's performance. We are also willing to join the Netherworld Empire. Us too. One by one, the sects chose to join the Netherworld Empire. Some of them were willing and some were not. Those who were unwilling were afraid of retaliation, so they could only choose to join. Thank you for the Netherworld Empire's invitation, but we, the White Lotus Mansion, will not consider joining for the time being. At this time, a beautiful woman in a white dress walked out and chose to refuse the invitation. She was the Mansion Lord of the White Lotus Mansion. She represented the entire White Lotus Mansion to express her opinion. Her cultivation level was also not low. She had reached the 5th layer of core transformation stage. In terms of age, she was much younger than Lin Hao, so it was obvious that she was very talented. A cold light flashed in Lin Hao's eyes. It's okay, we, the Netherworld Empire, respect your opinion, and we don't mean to force you. Who knew if it was true or not? The White Lotus Mansion was one of the top 3rd-grade forces. It had its own strength, and it might have a void spirit stage cultivator among its ranks. The Netherworld Empire didn't dare to force them. If they really fought, the Netherworld Empire would definitely win, but they would also suffer a heavy loss. We also will not consider joining for the time being. We are very grateful for the Netherworld Empire's invitation. A mansion lord walked out and said apologetically. Those who were able to say such words had a very strong background, and it was very likely that they would become the Netherworld Empire in the future. Lin Hao didn't say anything, because he didn't know what to say. Soon, only one of the 14 forces didn't answer, and that was the Heaven's Top Mansion. No one thought that the Heaven's Top Mansion wouldn't agree. They even thought that the Heaven's Top Mansion would definitely agree. When everyone's eyes were focused on Yi Tianyan, the Great Elder said in a low voice, "Mansion Lord, should we join or not?" In their hearts, they were definitely unwilling to join. If they joined, they would lose their freedom and would even be asked to hand over the Xiantian divine art. Otherwise, they would lose the purpose of recruiting them. After recruiting all the forces, they would have to hand over their valuable things. The Netherworld Empire had done this kind of thing many times. Otherwise, the Netherworld Empire wouldn't have such a bad reputation. They were already at odds with each other, so if they joined in, it would be tantamount to them swallowing their anger. But if they didn't agree, they would be courting death. Yi Tianyan didn't answer the Great Elder's question. He lifted his foot and looked at Lin Hao and said, "Thank you for the invitation, but we don't want to join any forces for the time being. We just want to develop ourselves." What? His words were like a clap of thunder that exploded in the area, causing many people to be stunned. They actually dared to refuse the Netherworld Empire's invitation? Did their brains get kicked by a donkey? They actually refused the Netherworld Empire's invitation. This was something that no one had expected, or thought that they would definitely join. Who would have thought that there was a grudge between them? If nothing happened between them and the Netherworld Empire, they might really join. Originally, the Heaven's Top Mansion was in decline, and it would be good for them to join. A lot of their people were killed, and a few traitors appeared. Their mansion lord was crippled, and now they joined. Chapter 248. Heaven's Top Mansion has a big problem now, and that is if they join they will be reduced to slaves. Their Xiantian divine art will be taken away, and their power will be taken away. Basically, they are no different from puppets. Although they didn't do it, they already knew what the Netherworld Empire was going to do. Yi Tianyan already knew this from Chengfeng. If it wasn't for the Xiantian divine art, Heaven's Top Mansion would have already been destroyed. The first thing they will do is to take away the Xiantian divine art. If they don't, they will be dead. If they give away the Xiantian divine art, they will also be dead. After all, the Xiantian divine art has no value. Yi Tianyan's answer made a lot of people feel strange. Not only did he offend the Divine Rune Mansion, but now he doesn't even care about the Netherworld Empire's face. Isn't he courting death? Can you speak on behalf of the Heaven's Top Mansion? Lin Hao's face was gloomy. If the top 3rd-grade forces don't want to join, he can bear it. But if the Heaven's Top Mansion doesn't want to join, then it's really a slap in the face. "Yes, I am the Mansion Lord," Yi Tianyan said indifferently. "Such a young Mansion Lord?" Lin Hao was stunned for a moment, and then immediately said, "That's good, the Netherworld Empire will not force you." Lin Hao's words were very heavy, But he didn't know whether it was true or not. In front of so many forces, he didn't say his real thoughts, so no one knew what he was thinking. Yi Tianyan walked back to the Netherworld Empire with an indifferent look. He knew what kind of problem he was facing, but for him, it's as simple as that. He can't accept the humiliation of joining the Netherworld Empire. Or rather, it's a dead end, so why not choose to die? Those who choose to join the Netherworld Empire can stay, those who don't can leave now. Lin Hao said coldly. He didn't stay to entertain them. Those who joined would definitely be treated well, and those who didn't could only scram. They came for a stroll, and then went back. They didn't even get a sip of hot soup. From the very beginning of the banquet until now, they had not been treated with any great hospitality. Other than facing their arrogance, they did not feel the slightest bit of enthusiasm. The people from the White Lotus Mansion didn't say anything. They just turned around and left. Yi Tianyan also chose to leave. He didn't want to stay here any longer. But when Yi Tianyan was about to leave, Lin Hao's voice came again. Heaven's Top Mansion, when did I allow you to leave? Yi Tianyan frowned. Didn't they say that those who didn't choose to join the Netherworld Empire could leave? Those from the White Lotus Mansion glanced over and shook their heads before leaving. They didn't stay any longer, including the Starry Pavilion. The Star Pavilion also did not join the Netherworld Empire. Their status was not low, so there was no need for them to join the Netherworld Empire. It's a pity, if this little friend was not the Mansion Lord, I would have been able to protect him. Li Tianlong sighed. Yi Tianyan was already a 4th-grade Divine Rune Master at such a young age. But he had to take it one step at a time. First, he would be a guest, and then he would be accepted as a disciple. He didn't expect that it would be the Mansion Lord of Heaven's Top Mansion. It was really hard for him to protect Yi Tianyan. If he showed up now, it would be tantamount to going against the Netherworld Empire. Sigh, it's really a pity. Who knows? Elder Yun and the others shook their heads. They sincerely want to recruit Yi Tianyan, but who knows what will happen next? Yu Shiqian couldn't help but look at Yi Tianyan. It's not that she fell in love with Yi Tianyan, but she felt that Yi Tianyan was a little familiar. Even his voice was a little familiar. Maybe it's just my imagination. Yu Shiqian shook her head. She felt that Heaven's Top Mansion was going to be completely removed from the heavenly border continent. Soon all the other sects left, and there were only 2 camps left. One side joined the Netherworld Empire, and the other side didn't. Those who didn't join the Netherworld Empire were very miserable, and only Heaven's Top Mansion was left. Grandpa, Mu Xian, tightly grabbed the Great Elder's clothes, and her beautiful eyes were filled with worry. She knew that things wouldn't end so easily, but in the face of such a behemoth, their hearts couldn't help but tremble, including the Great Elder. They never thought that they would face such a behemoth, and now it's the reality. If Yi Tianyan didn't come, this situation wouldn't have happened. Heaven's Top Mansion had completely become the puppet of the Netherworld Empire, so naturally, they wouldn't appear. Since there was a change, it was inevitable that they would go against the Netherworld Empire. Don't worry, I'm here. Yi Tianyan turned back and smiled at her. His voice was so firm and confident. Mu Xian looked at Yi Tianyan, and for the first time, she felt that Yi Tianyan was no longer a pervert, but a real Mansion Lord. A Mansion Lord who was willing to shoulder the responsibility of Heaven's Top Mansion. Heaven's Top Mansion, do you know why I left you here? Lin Hao looked at them coldly. It's either to force us to stay here, or to force us to hand over the Xiantian divine art. Yi Tianyan said lightly. There was nothing to hide, so he should just cut to the chase and get straight to the point. Xiantian divine art? The people who stayed here were shocked. Xiantian divine art was one of the strongest techniques of Heaven's Top Mansion, and they heard that it has reached the level of heaven-level martial art. How could the Netherworld Empire not be tempted by it? No wonder you're the new Mansion Lord, at least you're smart. Lin Hao sneered. Don't talk nonsense, hand over the Xiantian divine art, and I'll spare your Heaven's Top Mansion. Do you think I'll believe you? Yi Tianyan sneered. Hand over the Xiantian divine art, and I'm afraid we'll die faster. Lin Hao's eyes flashed and he sneered. If you don't hand it over now, then die. With a command, A few black shadows suddenly appeared out of thin air around them. 3 shadow guards dressed in black appeared beside them. Although there were a lot of shadow guards, there were less than 10 of them, but a lot of resources were spent to train them. Each shadow guard must be absolutely loyal, and their cultivation must not be too low. Each of them was at least spirit core stage, so a lot of resources were spent to train them. But they were good at assassination. So many forces couldn't guard against them. Tianyan looked at the shadow guards around him, and the strongest one was at 3rd level spirit core stage, which was no different than garbage to him. But we don't have the Xiantian divine art. How can we hand it over? Tianyan said indifferently. Chapter 249. The soul-searching technique was a rather ruthless martial art. It forcibly searched other people's soul memories, but it was unknown how much they could search, but one thing was certain. Those who were searched by the soul-searching technique would basically become an idiot. Even if they didn't become an idiot, their soul would certainly be damaged, which would have a great impact on their future cultivation. If their soul was not intact, their cultivation speed would be greatly reduced, and so would their perception. It could be said that it was one of the most cruel martial arts, but only a few people knew about it. It was not surprising that the Netherworld Empire knew about the soul-searching technique. The Great Elder's face changed. The Netherworld Empire wouldn't care whether they knew about it or not. Tianyan's face didn't change. It was normal for them to know such insidious methods. I see. Then I am willing to hand it over. Tianyan suddenly said. Tianyan's words shocked everyone, including the Great Elder. They didn't expect that he would hand it over at this moment. Aha. Aren't you a stubborn person? You didn't choose to join the Netherworld Empire before, and now you want to beg for mercy? Nan Fengyan laughed. That's right, it's too late to hand it over now. The other manor heads laughed along with him. They laughed so hard that tears almost came out of their eyes. They had seen stupid people before, but they had never seen such a stupid person. Previously, he had a backbone in front of so many people, but now he had withered. Sure enough, the young mansion lord was not reliable. He said one thing, but he did another behind his back. No, a wise man submits to circumstances. If you are willing to hand it over, I can let your heaven's top mansion go. Lin Hao smiled. Finally, there was something to be happy about. However, a murderous intent flashed past his eyes, as if he did not mean it. This is the Xiantian divine art. Here you go. Tianyan threw a martial art book, but it didn't fall into Lin Hao's hands. It fell to the ground. Sorry, I didn't throw it. Go pick it up. Lin Hao rubbed his palms. Ignoring Tianyan's situation, he motioned the guard next to him to pick it up. Master Lin, let me help you. Nan Fengyan smiled and walked over to help pick it up. Then, he eagerly walked over and handed the martial art over. Just as Lin Hao picked it up, he ordered, "Kill them all for me, don't leave a single one alive." He didn't even look at the content. His expression was ferocious. Clearly, he had broken his promise. Didn't you get our Xiantian divine art? Why are you still attacking us? The Great Elder didn't know why Tianyan had chosen to give up in the end, but he still agreed with Tianyan's decision. But now that he was going to be killed, how could he tolerate that? I just said to keep heaven's top mansion. I never said to keep you. Lin Hao laughed loudly and signaled the shadow guards to attack. The 3 shadow guards pounced forward without hesitation. Their figures were simply too fast, as though they had disappeared on the spot. However, just as they were about to pounce on him, a figure turned into a whip and lashed out fiercely. Bang bang bang. The 3 shadow guards were sent flying, smashing heavily to the side, directly falling limply onto the ground. Ding, successfully killed shadow guard. Reward, 260. 000 EXP, 3200 crazy point, 50 SPs. Obtain Shadow Step Shadow Blade. Ding, successfully killed Shadow Guard. Reward, 280. 000 EXP, 3300 crazy point, 60 SPs. Obtain Shadow Step, Shadow Blade Stealth Suit. Ding, successful. 3 Shadow Guards were killed with a single kick. It was clean and efficient, without any pressure at all. Feeling that the shadow guards were dead, the mansion lord's face changed. They were all cultivators of spirit core realm. How could they be killed with a single kick? This proved that the young mansion lord's cultivation had reached the spirit core stage. And he was even at the late stage of the spirit core stage. I knew you were lying. Look at what you have in your hand. Tianyan sneered. At this time, Lin Hao lowered his head to look at the thing in his hand. After looking at it clearly, he angrily tore it apart, and then scattered it on the ground. Vaguely he could see the words basic fist technique written on it. This is the most common thing in the market. Tianyan didn't have it in his inventory, so he bought it from the merchant shop. It cost him 100 crazy point. You dare to fool me? Lin Hao was angry. He thought that Tianyan would really give him the Xiantian divine art. He thought that Tianyan was really afraid of him, but he didn't expect that he was fooled. After the great elder saw the fake, he laughed. Sure enough, Mansion Lord E is still the same Mansion Lord. He doesn't want to bow his head to anyone. If I didn't fool you, how could I know that you are not fooling me? Tianyan sneered. You didn't even see clearly whether it is the Xiantian divine art or not, and you immediately ordered to kill us. Tithe. What a good scheme. How dare you? Nan Fengyan sneered. You think you are invincible here just because you have some skills? Lord Lin, let me help you get rid of him. Lord Lin, count me in. Lord Lin, count me in as well. One by one, the mansion lords chose to stand up. They just joined the Netherworld Empire. How could they not help? They looked at Tianyan with murderous intent. Since Tianyan was able to kill a spirit core realm shadow guard, it proved that his cultivation is definitely above spirit core realm. So sending ordinary spirit core realm shadow guards was like a fool. Therefore, Nan Fengyan volunteered to help capture Tianyan. Good, capture him. I want this kid to die. Kill the rest of them. Lin Hao said angrily. Since someone is willing to help him, then he will let Nan Fengyan do it. Nan Fengyan walked down from the stage and unleashed his aura of third-level core transformation stage to suppress Tianyan. In addition to him, several other mansion lords also came down. They released their core transformation stage cultivation. The weakest one was at the 8th or 9th level of the spirit core stage. All of a sudden, they surrounded Yi Shiwen. Kid, this time you are going to die. Since you killed my personal disciple, then I will kill your whole heaven's top mansion. Nan Fengyan sneered. You were arrogant before, but now I want to see how arrogant you can be. Boom. Suddenly, Tianyan turned into a red light and rushed towards Nan Fengyan. Nan Fengyan didn't even have time to react, and was kicked by Tianyan. With a bang, Nan Fengyan was sent flying like a ball and heavily smashed into the wall. With a boom, the wall that was smashed by Nan Fengyan couldn't withstand the terrifying force and directly penetrated through it, not even leaving a shadow behind. Chapter 250. Successfully killed Nan Fengyan. Reward: 2,500,000 EXP, 22,000 crazy point, 200 SPS, 5,000 divine rune proficiency. Obtained martial art afterimage step, breaking spirit finger. Obtained imperial spirit pen, high-grade soul tool, tyrant rune paper rare, damage bonus divine rune, 5th grade divine rune. Nan Fengyan dropped a lot of good stuff. EXP was as high as 2,500,000, crazy point was more than 20,000, and even the divine rune proficiency was as high as 5,000. This wasn't a problem with the numbers, but Tianyan used both the 30x and 20x EXP cards, which added up to a total of 58x EXP. Even the EXP card that he got from the gift pack was used. He didn't expect the 5x mastery card to double after killing the divine rune masters. This was something that Tianyan didn't expect. Not to mention his sim points, they had all doubled. The value jumped crazily all of a sudden. With so many strong masters here, how could he let go of this feast? For him, it was a big wave of EXP and crazy point. How could he miss it? With the crazy damage mode activated, he instantly killed Nan Fengyan with one kick. So what if Nan Fengyan was a sect lord? Especially now that he was a core transformation stage cultivator. With his 8x strength, Nan Fengyan, who was just a third-level core transformation stage cultivator, was nothing in front of him. If he couldn't even kill Nanfengyan with one move, then his strength would really be in vain. This scene made many of the mansion lords who surrounded him dumbfounded. They couldn't even see the speed of Yi Tianyun's attack. What did this mean? It meant that his cultivation was higher than theirs by a large margin. Otherwise, there was no way they couldn't see it clearly. What kind of power is this? They were shocked to the point that they couldn't be more shocked. They thought that Spirit Core stage was the peak, but now it seems that he was still in Core Transformation stage. A 17-year-old boy actually has the power of Core Transformation stage. What kind of monster is he? Even if he started cultivating in his mother's womb, it was impossible for him to have such a powerful cultivation, right? The first elder and the others were shocked as well. Although they were mentally prepared for it, since Yi Tianyan was able to kill Qingfeng, it wouldn't be a problem for him to kill Nanfengyan and the others. However, they were still shocked when they saw it. So what if you're arrogant? Now it's your turn. Yi Tianyan flew up. He didn't use any weapon nor did he use any secret art. He simply kicked. His battle power was as high as 6 to 7 million. And the power that erupted out was quite terrifying. How much power did they have? It was only 1 or 2 million, but they had completely crushed them. Bang! Boom! Yi Tianyan flew up and kicked twice at an unbelievable speed. The two palace lords were sent flying just like that. Just like Nanfengyan, they were kicked through the wall and flew backwards. Then they lost all signs of life. Successfully killed Flowing Wind Mansion Lord. Reward: 2,300,000 EXP, 21,000 CPS, 200 SPs. Reward: Heaven Dominating Palm, Shadow Sword. Ding. Successfully killed Imperial Wind Mansion Lord. Reward: 2,400,000 EXP, 22,000 CPS, 200 SPs. One after another, the palace lords were easily killed by Yi Tianyan. The palace lords that he killed were all third-grade factions palace lords. But now, in Yi Tianyan's hands, he killed them as if he was slaughtering chickens and dogs. What a terrifying strength. This is simply the strength of a core transformation stage cultivator. They were all scared out of their wits and quickly retreated. They didn't dare to approach Yi Tianyan anymore. But even if they didn't approach Yi Tianyan, it doesn't mean that Yi Tianyan won't approach Yi Tianyan. Since you're already here, why bother leaving? Yi Tianyan sneered and blocked the palace lord who was trying to escape. Yi Tianyan punched the palace lord to death and turned into a huge amount of EXP. Take them as hostages. They immediately changed their target and looked at the Great Elder and the other palace lords. If they were to be used as hostages, they might be able to escape. Facing the palace lord level powerhouses, the Great Elder's face sank and shouted, "Stand behind me. I will fight with them. We can't drag the palace lord down." They were too weak. It's not that they don't want to help, but they can't help at this level. In order to prevent Yi Tianyan from being threatened, the Great Elder is ready to use his blood essence to fight with them. If you want to use them as hostages, you have to ask me first. At this time, Yi Tianyan took the Blast Divine Pill, a medicinal pill that he got a long time ago. Looking at the palace lords running towards the Great Elder, Yi Tianyan swallowed the Blast Divine Pill. Although the phoenix wings could increase one's speed, that was the speed of flying. If one were to fly indoors, one might crash into a wall if one flew too fast, and it would be difficult to control. Ding! Successfully consumed Blast Divine Pill. Speed increased by 2 times. Xiao! Yi Tianyan's speed increased by 2 times in an instant. In the eyes of the crowd, he was like a shadow. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of them. He didn't use any fancy moves, just a punch. With a dong sound, the man was sent flying and crashed into the thick wall of the palace. If it weren't for the wall, they wouldn't know how far they would have flown. However, there was only one result, and that was death. Whether it was a kick or a punch, the violent power was enough to shatter their internal organs. Even if they didn't die in the beginning, they wouldn't be far from death. This power impossible. Lin Hao, who was watching Yi Tianyan's astonishing speed, turned pale. Immediately, a thought flashed in his mind. Could it be that you killed Lord Cheng? Seeing Yi Tianyun's terrifying power, according to this situation, the murderer who killed Cheng Feng is obvious, and it is obvious that only Yi Tianyun in front of him can do this. You guessed it, yes, I killed Cheng Feng. Is there a problem? Not only do you want to snatch the Xian Tian divine art, but also want to destroy my heaven's top mansion? Yi Tianyun sneered. Not only will I kill Cheng Feng, but I will also kill you today. Yi Tianyun stretched out his hand, and a huge black dragon fell from the sky and blocked the exit. Roar! The black dragon roared at them and immediately spewed out black flames that swept towards them. Some of the sect's elders didn't dodge in time, and were immediately burnt to a crisp by the flames. Unknowingly, the black dragon's cultivation had reached level 8 of the spirit core stage. His overbearing strength was enough to stop the mansion masters from escaping. Chapter 251. The huge black dragon blocking the exit shocked them even more. After the Great Elder and the others saw it, they were all stunned. I heard that the person who saved Yang Shixue and captured Deacon Xian seems to have a black dragon. At this time Mu Xianer thought of something. It was something that Yang Shixue and the others said when they returned. It was something that made them feel inconceivable. They were wondering why Heaven's top mansion had such a strong helper. Now it seems that the helper is none other than their mansion lord. This is just their guess. The black dragon is the biggest symbol, but it is not the absolute symbol. Maybe someone else has a black dragon. Yang Shixue didn't recognize him at first. But at the same time, the mansion lords didn't think so. They were thinking about the recent arrest warrant. A young man riding a black dragon slaughtered the Wang family. They immediately thought of the young man in front of them. Are they the same? They didn't need to think too much. The black dragon had already pounced over, and its huge body trampled over them. It waved its sharp claws, and the deacons of the other sects were either slapped to death or burned to charcoal by the terrifying flames in its mouth. Ding! Successfully killed Deacon Xian of Flowing Wind Mansion. Reward: 690,000 EXP, 1,400 CPS, 50 SPS. Reward: Ding! Successfully killed. The black dragon's violent power can be said to be unstoppable. Along the way, all the cultivators with low cultivation were flattened. There is no way anyone can escape from here. It's not a good thing if the news of the black dragon leaked out. Yi Tianyun also didn't stand on the side. He followed Yi Tianyun and killed the crowd. There are only 5 people who joined the Netherworld Empire. All of them were trying to please the Netherworld Empire before. They didn't want to force the Netherworld Empire to join them. They just want to help eliminate Yi Tianyun. No matter what they think, Yi Tianyun only has one thought in his mind, and that is to kill them. In the blink of an eye, all these palace lords were easily killed by him, without any difficulty at all. This meant that the palace lords of these forces were completely finished, and a group of elders was about to be killed by him. As for their sects, they could ignore them, but these manor lords must die. Today is the day you die. Lin Hao, who was standing at the side, roared. Shortly after, the sound of something being crushed could be heard. Shortly after, the phantom of the Netherworld Great Emperor appeared in front of everyone, and released a terrifying aura. The terrifying pressure caused many people to look over. The attendants and elders who were being chased by the black dragon all revealed ecstatic expressions when they saw the Netherworld Great Emperor. The Netherworld Great Emperor has descended. The Netherworld Great Emperor has descended. Quickly kill them all. Quick, save us. When they saw the Netherworld Great Emperor, they were ecstatic. For them, this was their absolute savior. Looking at the Netherworld Great Emperor, Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. This was not out of his expectation. Lin Hao was one of the ministers, so it was normal for him to have the Netherworld Great Emperor's talisman. Netherworld Divine Palm. As soon as the Netherworld Great Emperor appeared, he immediately aimed at Yi Tianyun and used his most powerful technique, the Netherworld Divine Palm. A huge palm appeared in the sky and fiercely pressed down on Yi Tianyun. Such a huge palm made the Great Elder and the other elders' faces change. They immediately fled in all directions. However, wherever the Netherworld Divine Palm fell, There was basically nowhere to escape. Even the elders and deacons who were fleeing in all directions were within its attack range. "Sir Lin, save us." When they saw the huge palm coming down on them, their faces turned deathly pale. They didn't expect that the attack range would also include them. If such a huge palm came down on them, even if they didn't die, they would be crippled. This attack was indiscriminate. It basically didn't care about their life or death. A bunch of trash. You can't even deal with a piece of trash. Then you can all die together. Lin Hao's expression was ferocious. He coldly looked at them as if he was looking at a pile of trash. Originally, he wanted to recruit the palace masters, but now that all the palace masters were dead, there was no point in keeping this group of trash. The most important thing was that the Netherworld Divine Palm was so overbearing, wherever it went, it would turn everything into ashes. Lin Hao looked at Yi Tianyan. His expression was still ferocious. He looked at Yi Tianyan as if he was looking at a dead man. He knew that Yi Tianyan's cultivation was astonishing, but could he be stronger than the Netherworld Great Emperor? Yi Tianyan stopped, narrowed his eyes and looked at the huge palm coming down on him. He clenched his fist and the dragon god's bloodline inside his body erupted. In an instant, his body was covered with a thick layer of dragon scales. Outside the dragon scales, there was also a layer of light blue crystal, but under this light blue crystal, there was also a layer of light gold. 3 extremely powerful defensive divine incantations burst out. The Xiantian divine incantation and the golden body incantation were both superimposed, instantly raising his defensive power to the extreme. Boom! He suddenly stomped on the ground, creating a deep pit. He seemed to have turned into a red meteor, penetrating the Netherworld Great Emperor's phantom. At this time, the Netherworld Divine Palm had already covered the ground. At the same time, everyone's expression changed greatly. At the same time, Yi Tianyan suddenly stomped on the ground again, instantly bounced up from the ground, and swung his leg fiercely. Boom! Accompanied by an extreme explosive sound, the entire Netherworld Divine Palm that was covering the phantom was destroyed by his kick. The explosion rolled up a series of cyclones, sweeping everything in the surroundings. Many tables and chairs were swept away one after another. The others squinted their eyes and fixed their bodies in place, fearing that they would be swept away. Then, a figure fell from the sky, directly kicking the Netherworld Great Emperor's phantom, shining with a different kind of light. What? Lin Hao's face turned pale, and his heart was fiercely shaken. Yi Tianyan's kick had destroyed the Netherworld Divine Palm, and he didn't even have the slightest injury. It seemed that he was completely unscathed. How strong must his strength be to reach such a terrifying level? Netherworld Divine Palm. The Netherworld Great Emperor's indifferent eyes looked straight at him, without the slightest bit of fear. Originally, this phantom would not show fear, nor would it show any other expression. It was just an energy phantom stored in the jade pendant. Explode for me! Yi Tianyan fiercely kicked down, and with a loud bang, his foot fiercely collided with the Netherworld Great Emperor's palm. The Netherworld Great Emperor's palm was destroyed by his foot. The Netherworld Great Emperor's strength was not weak, with nearly 7 million battle power, but after Yi Tianyan used his full strength, his strength was even a little bit stronger than the Netherworld Great Emperor's. Under the superposition of these 3 powers, his battle power was as high as 7.5 million. Chapter 252. With 2 kicks, the phantom of the Netherworld Emperor was destroyed. Compared to the previous time, Yi Shiwen was able to suppress the phantom of the Netherworld Emperor. Of course, this did not mean that he could easily suppress an expert at the peak of core transformation stage. There were too many variables. Yi Shiwen didn't have any equipment, nor did he have any brains. There were too many factors that couldn't trigger the bloodline. The gap between Yi Shiwen and an expert at the peak of core transformation stage was astonishing. This situation caused many people to be scared out of their wits. Even the Netherworld Great Emperor's power was suppressed? However, they were more glad that they weren't hit by that palm. That was an absolutely deadly existence. They didn't expect that they would be saved instead. How could this be? Lin Hao's face sank. He didn't expect to encounter such a situation. Although the phantom of the Netherworld Emperor wasn't particularly strong, it was still an extremely powerful attack from a peak of core transformation stage master. In the end, even the phantom was destroyed. After falling down, Tianyan didn't stop at all. He flew towards Lin Hao and kicked him. In the blink of an eye he arrived in front of Lin Hao and kicked him heavily, full of violent power. Lin Hao's face changed, and he quickly took out a treasure that shrouded Tianyan. It was a kind of treasure that was similar to imprisonment, and it seemed to be a high-grade treasure. But for him, it didn't have much meaning. Break for me. He didn't know when, but there was already an endless sword in his hand. He aimed at the treasure and fiercely slashed it. The endless sword made a buzzing sound. At this time it instantly triggered the double damage. Boom! The halo that was thrown over was split in half by this fierce slash. The light on it dimmed, and it fell to the ground like a pile of scrap iron. The majesty of the Empire cannot be violated. Lin Hao roared. He took out a medicinal pill and stuffed it into his mouth. The next moment, a violent force was released from his body. Instantly his combat power soared. A gigantic sword appeared in his hands. This was a peak-tier soul weapon, and the surface of the sword gleamed with the light of a grandmaster's divine inscriptions. Ripples of energy radiated outwards, and the tyrannical divine inscriptions on the surface of the sword increased the strength of the gigantic sword to an unimaginable degree. With the work of a grandmaster, this was definitely a peak-tier soul weapon. As for heaven-grade weapons, they were extremely rare. Only master blacksmiths and above could forge them, and they were priceless. Lin Hao's status was not low, but it did not mean that he was qualified to obtain a heaven-grade weapon. Although it wasn't a heaven-tier armament, it was still a top-tier soul armament paired with a grandmaster-tier divine rune. It was a terrifying existence that was comparable to a heaven-tier armament. The data from the appraisal eye fully proved the heaven-defying degree of this weapon, as well as Lin Hao's terrifying strength after taking the pill. His combat power skyrocketed from the initial 2.7 million to more than 6 million, completely exceeding most of the core transformation stage's 7th-level experts. However, this was only possible with the combination of burning his blood essence and taking medicinal pills. Under these violent effects, he was able to achieve this. But the side effect was also extremely obvious. After the battle, he would be in an extremely weak state, basically no different from being defenseless. Plus, burning his blood essence would also cause his cultivation to drop. But now, in order to kill Tianyan and maintain the majesty of the Empire, Lin Hao was willing to go all out. Lin Hao's eyes were filled with blood-red light, and his aura was released in circles, which was even stronger than the Netherworld Emperor's shadow. This was the difference between the two. Lin Hao could burst out stronger power with the help of his equipment and pills. But no matter how strong his power was, Tianyan was still a level stronger than him. Fortunately, he had broken through to the core transformation stage, otherwise he would really die. I want you to die. Lin Hao no longer cared about the Xiantian divine art. The most important thing now was to save his life. But they were wrong. They thought that the Heaven's Top Mansion wouldn't be able to cause any trouble. But now they were wrong. Not only will they not cause any trouble, but they will also turn the world upside down. The next moment, Lin Hao rushed towards Tianyan, releasing a violent power from his body, and a mad dragon shadow emerged and wrapped around his body. Unexpectedly, he also stimulated the mad dragon bloodline in his body. He didn't know how much blood essence he absorbed to be able to release this kind of power. His whole body was also covered with dragon scales, but these dragon scales were light green, like emerald. He raised his giant sword and smashed it towards Tianyan. The effect of the Grandmaster-level divine rune was amazing. In an instant, more than 10 feet long sword light appeared. Mad dragon bloodline. Unfortunately, you met me. Tianyan wasn't afraid at all. He raised the Sword of Infinity in his hand and instantly activated Luck Aura. His luck value suddenly exploded. Tianyan also waved the Sword of Infinity in his hand to block Lin Hao's attack. Perhaps the grade of the Sword of Infinity is not as good as the Sword of Infinity, but its effect is strong. Buzz. Buzz. Tianyan was not disappointed this time. Under the situation where his luck value had increased, coupled with the luck aura, the critical damage effect was triggered at once, double the power of all attacks. The Sword of Infinity was so heaven-defying that it could explode with twice all of his power. This was the most terrifying existence. Under this explosion, his current combat power of more than 7.5 million suddenly soared to 12 million. In an instant, the Sword of Infinity shone to the extreme, and the bright light was so dazzling. Clang! The terrifying power hit the opponent's giant sword, and with a crack, Lin Hao's giant sword was shattered. Even Lin Hao was shaken and flew out, and the terrifying vibration suddenly shattered his arm. Clang! At this time, the Sword of Infinity in Yi Tianyun's hand was also shattered into a pile of fragments and fell to the ground. Obviously, it couldn't withstand such a domineering power, causing the Sword of Infinity to collapse. The Sword of Infinity couldn't be upgraded, so its grade couldn't be upgraded. If the grade couldn't be upgraded, the quality couldn't be upgraded, and the endurance of the sword would naturally be much weaker. Now that it couldn't withstand his power, and it couldn't withstand the power of the collision with the opponent, it turned into a pile of fragments. What a pity! It seems that low-grade weapons can't withstand the current power at all. Yi Tianyun shook his head. Similar to the set that he obtained before, except for the armor on his body, he basically didn't use any weapons. Chapter 253. All of Yi Tianyun's current weapons have a corresponding durability. If they run out of durability, they will break. Of course, durability is not a problem, it can be completely repaired. With his forging ability, he can repair them with just a slight movement of his fingers, so it is not a big problem. But with his current strength, even if the durability is full, under the terrifying power, it will directly explode. Unless the weapon is also upgraded, now without a high-grade soul tool, it really can't bear his violent power. If he doesn't use crazy mode, he will not feel any pressure using these weapons. Originally, with his cultivation, this level of weapons is not a problem. But he is too violent, ordinary weapons simply can't bear it. But the grade of these weapons is not high enough. Proficiency has been increasing, but it is not that easy to increase. He turned his attention back to Lin Hao. Under this crazy attack, Lin Hao was sent flying. The hand that was holding the weapon had been shattered. Blood continuously flowed out from his arm and drooped down, as if he had no bones. His bones are still there, but they have been shattered and he can't lift them. Even he coughed up blood from the impact. His strength was berserk enough, but it was a pity that he was up against this berserk Sword of Infinity. When his strength was doubled, no one could block it. To be precise, it is not even twice the power, it is only a few million more battle power. Originally, it should have 15 million battle power, but now it is only 12 million. This is the limit of the Infinity Sword. Otherwise, when his cultivation becomes stronger, he can buy another Infinity Sword and continue to erupt. Wouldn't it be still heaven-defying? Unfortunately, this is impossible. The limit is like this, unless the Infinity Sword is upgraded to a high grade. Then the eruption of power will be completely different. You die for me. Lin Hao crushed a jade pendant and released his power. Immediately, the Netherworld Great Emperor appeared again, but just as he was about to use the Netherworld Divine Palm, Yi Tianyun's figure rushed over and fiercely kicked. Bang! The Netherworld Great Emperor didn't even use the Netherworld Divine Palm, and Yi Tianyun's kick exploded the Netherworld Divine Palm. The same move was completely useless against him. Especially now that he was crazily erupting with power, it was already enough to suppress the Netherworld Great Emperor's projection. Other than this move, are there no other moves? Yi Tianyun looked at him coldly. I am a minister of the Netherworld Empire. If you kill me, the Netherworld Empire will definitely destroy your heaven's top mansion. Lin Hao is furious. Even in the face of death, he still doesn't forget to threaten him. It's like all of you are carved from the same mold. Even when you're at death's door, you still use these words to threaten others. Yi Tianyun said indifferently, others may fall for this trick, but I won't fall for it. Moreover, I've already killed Qingfeng. What's the difference between you and me? It's as if the Netherworld Empire won't destroy our heaven's top mansion if I let you go. No matter what, from the beginning, You already planned to destroy our heaven's top mansion. Why are you talking so much? Lin Hao's face is pale. Cold sweat kept coming out from his forehead. He is a minister, he has a bright future ahead of him. Suddenly, the storage ring on Lin Hao's hand flashed, and a divine rune talisman appeared in his hand. He infused his spiritual power into the talisman, and then it turned into a ray of light that enveloped him. The next moment, the light turned into a ray of light and flew out. Lin Hao didn't expect it to be an extremely rare escape talisman. It can increase his flying speed for a short period of time. This is somewhat similar to the effect of the phoenix wings, but the effect is far worse than the phoenix wings. It can only increase the speed by 50% at most. Want to escape? I told you today is the day you die. A cold light flashed in Yi Tianyun's eyes, but he didn't move at all. Suddenly, the ice divine bow appeared in his hand, and he instantly pulled the longbow to its fullest, and an extreme ice arrow appeared in his hand, aiming at the escaping Lin Hao. After aiming, he quickly let go of the bow, and in the blink of an eye, a blue light burst out, and in the blink of an eye, it caught up with Lin Hao and penetrated his body. The ice arrow that penetrated his body froze him, causing him to fall heavily from the air. With a bang sound, he hit the ground heavily, and then there was no more movement. Ding! Successfully killed Lin Hao. Reward 2,800. 000 EXP. 16,000 Crazy Point. 300 SPS 5. 000 Divine Rune Proficiency. Obtained Absolute Soul Finger, Sky-Shattering Art. Obtained 10 times EXP card. Divine Speed Talisman Rare. Sky-Shattering Sword, High-Grade Soul Tool. Sky-Shattering Divine Armor, High-Grade Soul Tool. Sky-Shattering Leg Guards, High-Grade Soul Tool. Ding! Successfully killed an opponent above level. Gained 30 million EXP. 100,000 Crazy Point, 30 times EXP card, Enhanced Lottery Roulette Ticket. A lot of things dropped at once and finally, he got a set of equipment, which can replace the previous Chaotic Heaven set. Only the additional reward was a little too disappointing. It wasn't an additional level. Instead, it was an additional experience points. This wasn't very satisfying. Anyway, at least he can get a lot of rewards. In addition to the previous mansion lord, he got a lot of good things. Sure enough, the higher the level, the easier it is to drop good things, the lower the level is too little. But fighting above level, the mansion lord who is higher than him by 3 or 4 levels, there is no extra reward. Is this not even considered as fighting above level? This is already more than 3 levels. Is it not considered fighting above level? It seems that at least a gap of 5 or 6 levels is needed to be considered fighting above level. Yi Tianyun shook his head. It's a pity that the mansion lords didn't drop extra rewards. The extra reward is definitely a very rich type. The best reward is the extra level up. He now needs more than 100 million EXP. He can easily level up a level. How can it not be a good reward? Who knows, there is no extra reward at all. Yi Tianyun didn't think too much about it. He can't do anything if they don't give it to him. So he turned his head and looked at the remaining cultivators coldly. When they saw Yi Tianyun's eyes, their heart trembled. Compared to Yi Tianyun, they are indeed weak. They are indeed weak. Before, they laughed at Heaven's top mansion for being weak, but now it seems that they are the real weak. Please, Mansion Lordy, please let us go. We will never tell anyone about this. It really has nothing to do with us. We were all forced to join the Netherworld Empire. They are all scared, with the Black Dragon behind them and Yi Tianyun in front of them. How can they escape? Chapter 254. Yi Tianyun's words exposed their hypocritical mask. When they surrounded them, they didn't feel guilty at all. Instead, their faces were full of eagerness and eagerness. How can this be called coercion? He remembered that Lin Hao didn't let them come up, but instead, they rushed up and wanted to step on them. How can this be called coercion? Their face changed, knowing that it's impossible to escape. They said angrily, "If you kill us, the Netherworld Empire will flatten your Heaven's top mansion." "Don't worry, I will flatten the Netherworld Empire. You can wait for them below." Yi Tianyun gently waved his hand, and the Black Dragon pressed down on them. followed by endless screams. Soon, all the cultivators here were flattened, including the guards, and a large wave of EXP flowed into Etienne's head. Especially the sin points and proficiency points. All the elders of the Divine Rune Mansion can earn a lot of proficiency points. The rest of the mansion lords are either practicing forging or alchemy. It can be said that the proficiency card is very suitable for them. He knew that these lord prefects were all extremely fat, and definitely had some ability. Sure enough, after killing them, he would gain around 5,000 mastery points, which instantly equalized quite a few mastery points. If this continues, it won't be difficult to successfully break through to the next level. Ding, 30 times EXP card time is up. Ding, 20 times EXP card time is up. Fortunately, the EXP card time is up. It's not a waste. Because there are too many of them, Etienne can't use the Absorbing Star's great technique to extract EXP, which is a bit of a pity. It's all done, let's collect all their belongings. When Etienne saw that the surrounding area is cleared, he turned to look at the Great Elder and signaled them to collect the loot. The things in their storage rings are absolutely priceless. How can they let go of this opportunity? Oh, okay. They recovered from the shock. So many mansion lords before, each one is stronger than the other, but now they all turned into a pile of corpses. Very quickly they went to collect all the storage rings and handed them over to Etienne. Etienne shook his head and said, "You take these spoils of war. When the time comes, select some loyal deacons and disciples to distribute these resources. After all, our Heaven's Top Mansion is in dire need of resources." The first elder hesitated for a moment before he clenched the storage ring tightly and nodded his head. "I will obey the abode master's instructions." All of their faces were glowing with excitement. They felt that the future of Heaven's Top Mansion was very promising. With such a powerful mansion lord, what was there to be afraid of? As for the situation of Heavenly Jade Sect, Etienne will not treat them unfairly. He just took Lin Hao's storage ring and that is enough. The storage rings of Lin Hao and Cheng Feng were more than enough. The treasures inside were much more than the treasures of the other prefecture chiefs combined. In that case, let's leave this place now. We'll take the Black Dragon and leave together. Etienne took them deep into the palace and left through another exit. If they leave from the outside, they will undoubtedly run into the guards. But he has already killed a lot of them. In theory, there is only a small number of them left. He doesn't need to pay attention to them. After bringing them to another passageway in the palace, he quickly left on the Black Dragon. Before he left, he threw out the inextinguishable flame, completely igniting the place. In an instant, the entire palace was set ablaze. They quickly flew away from the palace. Etienne was flying while paying attention to the surrounding situation. Once he saw a guard, he immediately took out the Ice Divine Bow and shot an arrow in that direction. Instant kill. He wanted to seal his mouth now. If the Netherworld Empire knew about this, it will definitely be very troublesome for the Heaven's Top Mansion. Although they may find out later, at least for now, they can't find out. After silencing everyone and burning the place to ashes with the inextinguishable flame, who would still know who killed them? But they can't show themselves for the time being, otherwise it will be very troublesome. The palace is burning, Lin Hao is dead, but Etienne and the others are not dead. This proves that there is a big problem. After the palace turned into a sea of fire, a lot of guards outside saw it and rushed over. The battle before was not very big, so it did not attract them. The Netherworld Divine Palm was very strong, but it was destroyed by Etienne's kick, so it didn't cause too much of an impact. What the hell is going on? When they saw the flame inside, they were shocked by this scene. They wanted to rush in to see the situation, but it was already a sea of fire. There is no way to go in. As time passed, the immortal fire quickly burned the entire palace. Like a volcano, the flames soared up to the sky. At this time, the sects outside did not go far. They noticed the situation here. It should be said that everyone in the Dragon Gathering City saw this scene. There was no one who couldn't see the towering flames. Unless one was blind, one could clearly see the towering flames. It was truly terrifying. Very quickly, the White Lotus Mansion's Mansion Lord and the others came to check, including the people from the Star Pavilion. In less than 2 hours, They naturally did not leave. Who knew that in such a short time, the palace was already swallowed up by the sea of fire? The flames were burning high. It made people speechless. Chapter 255. When Tianyan and the others returned to the Netherworld Empire, the situation in the Dragon Gathering City was quickly reported to the Netherworld Empire. One of the men was walking back and forth in the hall. There were a few people who lowered their heads, not daring to meet the man's gaze. Cold sweat broke out on their foreheads. 2 ministers are dead. Even the Dragon Gathering City's palace was burned. But we can't find any clues? The man stopped and looked at them coldly. Your Excellency, this is indeed impossible to find. The palace was completely burned down, and the flames were not ordinary flames. Everything was burned down. No matter what we do, we won't be able to find anything. The minister wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. However, we will find out as soon as possible. As soon as possible? Lord Yu looked at him coldly. I don't want you to find out as soon as possible. I want you to find out the truth tomorrow. He released his terrifying aura and pressed down on them. The powerful aura of a void spirit stage expert made them kneel on the ground. Their legs softened. We think it's the Heavenly Dragon Empire. Only they can be so bold and have so many strong cultivators. The minister hurriedly mentioned their mortal enemy, the Heavenly Dragon Empire. After thinking for a while, he said, it could also be the spirit race, who has caused the most trouble recently. After seeing us recruiting so many factions, they decided to eliminate them. The minister thought of another enemy and quickly added. He didn't think of the Heaven's Top Mansion. Tianyan killed all the guards that saw them, and the direction of their escape was relatively hidden, so basically no one noticed them. If the minister couldn't find anything, he could only blame it on the Heavenly Dragon Empire or the spirit race. Yes, it's probably them. I think it's the spirit race's problem. Lord Yu's eyes were filled with killing intent. It won't take too much time. Not to mention the spirit race. Even the Heavenly Dragon Empire will be destroyed by our Netherworld Empire. A powerful aura was released in all directions, engulfing the entire area. Many things were blown away by this aura. Just by relying on his aura, he was able to create such a terrifying effect. As expected of a void spirit stage expert, Tianyan quickly flew back to Heaven's Top Mansion with them. Most of the disciples in Heaven's Top Mansion didn't know what happened. For Tianyan, he had to keep it a secret for the time being. As long as his cultivation continued to rise, even the Empire wouldn't have to worry about him. I'm afraid it won't be easy to deal with stronger cultivators. Tianyan furrowed his brows. Lin Hao's strength was still very strong, especially when he went all out. It was already close to his full strength. If the opponent was 1 or 2 levels stronger, there was no need to say anything more. If a void spirit stage expert were to appear, he couldn't even imagine how terrifying that person's combat strength would be. It was very likely that even if he didn't release anything, he would have more than 5 or 6 million battle power, or even more terrifying. After returning to Heaven's Top Mansion, the situation in Heaven's Top Mansion didn't change much. Originally, the Shadow Guard wanted to attack Tianyan, but now that the Shadow Guard was killed by Tianyan, Heaven's Top Mansion naturally wouldn't have any trouble. When they told them everything, they were deeply shocked, especially when they heard that Tianyan summoned the Black Dragon and killed a group of core transformation experts. They were shocked to the point of no return. So Mansion Lord did you save Yang Shishue and the others? Great Elder asked. That's right, I saved them. Tianyan answered without thinking, it's not a big problem. But why didn't Yang Shishue recognize you? He Qianhan felt very strange. Tianyan has been in Heavenly Pattern Pavilion for so many times. It's strange that he didn't recognize him. Because this is the face she recognized. Tianyan reached out his hand and wiped his face. Another face appeared in front of everyone. This time everyone was shocked again. It's really shocking. Such a delicate mask, there's no need to be afraid of being recognized. They were shocked. They finally figured out the truth. I thought it was strange that our heaven's top mansion has such a strong friend. Former mansion lord smiled and said, "So it's you, the successor of Spirit King Xiantian. You're really our good friend. It seems that handing over the position of mansion lord to you is quite the right thing to do. It's just that the situation is a bit more serious now. It's unlikely to find out anything for the time being, but we can't rule out what will happen in the future, so we can't show up for the time being," Yi Tianyan said in a deep voice. "Everything in the mansion will be managed by Mansion Lord Li for the time being. It's fine as long as nothing changes from before. I'm no longer the mansion lord. I lost my cultivation. I'm not even an elder." Li Xinliang smiled and said, "Just call me Deacon Li. I'm already quite satisfied to be able to help you manage things here." There's no despair in his eyes, even if he lost his cultivation. At least he survived and now he can leave. "Well, then I plan to go back for a while. I'll leave this place to you." Yi Tianyan nodded and said. When he was about to leave, suddenly a deacon came in from outside and said in a panic, "Divine Rune Mansion is here to cause trouble, and they even brought a group of people." Divine Rune Mansion? Yi Tianyan frowned. He wanted to say that after killing Nan Fengyan and the others, he doesn't need to worry about Divine Rune Mansion for the time being. He didn't expect that after the mansion lord was killed, this group of trash came to him. He thought for a moment and said, "Well, take me out to see." The deacon looked at Yi Tianyan, because he doesn't know him. Yi Tianyan is wearing the 100 transformation mask. Of course he doesn't know him. "Take him out, let him decide." Li Xinliang raised his hand and said. He didn't explain anything. Immediately, the deacon nodded and led Yi Tianyan outside. He didn't go out, but he heard someone shouting from outside. "Trash Heaven's top mansion. You dare to kill our young master. If you don't give us an explanation, we will destroy you," Yi Tianyan said. "Divine Rune Mansion destroy our heaven's top mansion?" Yang Yu was standing in front of them, looking at them and sneered. "If you have the ability, come. Who's afraid of who? And you bunch of traitors, you actually betrayed your sect, and now you're still standing on Divine Rune Mansion's side. Yang Yu, I advise you to get out of here. Otherwise you won't even know how you die." The traitor on the other side sneered, standing on the Divine Rune Mansion's side arrogantly. "You." Yang Yu was angry, but when he was about to say something, a hand climbed on his shoulder, stopping him. "Hey, who is this brother? You look a little unfamiliar?" Yang Yu looked at Yi Tianyan strangely. "It's nothing, I just came to see." Yi Tianyan looked up and saw an acquaintance standing there. It was Li Huan. Previously, he was seriously injured, and now he was carried on a stretcher to collect the debt. Obviously, he wanted to make up for his mistake. Chapter 256. Benefactor. At this time, Yang Shishua looked at Yi Tianyan in shock. Yi Tianyan was wearing the same mask that he wore when he saved them, so she immediately recognized him. "What, he is the benefactor who saved my sister?" Yang Yu looked at him from head to toe and immediately grabbed his hand. "Thank you for saving my sister. No wonder my sister is always in a trance. This friend is so young and dignified. At first glance, I know he is good enough to be my brother-in-law." "Yang Yu." Yang Shishua stretched out her hand and hit him to make him shut up. "Sister, weren't you in a trance when you looked out of the window, as if you were thinking about something? You still dare to say it?" Yang Shishua glared at him, her pretty face blushed. Her heart really fell on Yi Tianyan. In such a desperate situation, a handsome young man came to save her. Which woman wouldn't be moved? Enough. At this moment, Feng Yulong glared at them from the side. With the recovery of the elixir, he could already walk easily, but his face was still swollen. His previous handsome appearance was temporarily gone. "You are the fiancé of our Feng family. How dare you flirt with other men? Shishua, I will give you one last chance. Choose to stand on my side, otherwise don't blame me for what happens. Go with you." Young Shishua sneered. "Impossible, and I will not betray the sect like you." "Betray the sect?" Feng Yulong sneered. "This is the right choice. What's the point of staying in this declining heaven's top mansion? God Rune Mansion is our best choice." I admit that Heaven's top mansion is declining, but how can you betray the sect so easily? If you want to leave here, you must follow the rules. You said you betrayed the sect. It's simply treason. Young Shishua said coldly. Follow the normal rules? Feng Yulong laughed. It's nothing more than paying a little price, but think about it. What did Heaven's top mansion give us? It's just some broken medicinal pellets, some ordinary cultivation place. It's simply intolerable. He directly exploded. Under normal circumstances, if you want to leave the sect, you need to pay a lot of resources. For example, how many 3rd and 4th grade medicinal pills were needed before one could leave the sect? They had nurtured him for so long and spent so many resources on him. It was clearly against the rules for him to leave just like that. When it comes to this matter, Feng Yulong's whole body exploded. His eyes are full of contempt and disdain. He feels that staying in Heaven's top mansion is like living in a dog kennel. In front of a great enemy, they were still talking about romantic matters. How could they not be angry? All of them were glaring at them. The 2 elders, who were the strongest among them, were spirit core stage cultivators. There were also a few deacons standing on the side, looking coldly at them. They are not in a hurry to take action. They just want to let these young people have a good time and trample on Heaven's top mansion's face. Little did they know that their palace lord was already dead. It was just that the news had not been sent back so quickly. Otherwise, they would not have had the right to be so arrogant. They would have obediently gone back to deal with the aftermath. Heaven's top mansion's resources are lacking, but we have given you the best, and we will do our best to train you. Since you think Heaven's top mansion is lacking, why did you choose to join? Tianyan stood up. He looked at them coldly and said, without Heaven's top mansion's training, I think you can't even enter the Divine Rune Mansion's door. This is the truth. Although their family is not small, they still lack some resources, such as divine rune knowledge, which a small family can't provide. If Heaven's top mansion didn't dig out their potential, they can't even enter the door. But they kept complaining, and even occupied most of the resources, which made him very angry. He hates betrayal the most, especially this kind of betrayal. This is the best they can give, but they are not satisfied and greedy enough. They even made a mess in Heavenly Rune Pavilion. You little brat, what are you talking about? Feng Yulong was angry. He pointed at Tianyan and said in a cold voice, you can't even enter the door. What kind of bullshit benefactor? I think you are just fooling around. I will give you one last chance. Are you willing to come with me? If you don't come with me, don't regret it later. Feng Yulong, I said, I will never go with you. Yang Shishua said in a cold voice, traitor. Good. Feng Yulong's cold eyes glanced at everyone, then sneered. Very good. Let me tell you one thing. That arrogant kid killed the mansion lord's direct disciple. This time your Heaven's top mansion is finished. What? He killed the direct disciple of the Divine Rune Manor's Manor Master? They were stunned. They never thought that Tianyan would cause such a big trouble. This time the problem is serious. Where is your elder? Elder Shao Jie stood up and glanced at them. Only Tianyan and a deacon came out. No one else came out. I am in charge of this matter. What do you want? Tianyan said. You can take responsibility? Elder Shao Jie looked at him coldly and said, that's fine, our mansion lord's direct disciple was killed. And now your murderer is going to be caught and killed by our mansion lord. But this matter won't end so easily. You must compensate us with a batch of medicinal pills and weapons. I don't know if you want to bring it yourself, or do we go in and take it ourselves? After saying this, their imposing aura fiercely pressed towards the mansion lord's side. It seems to be polite, but it's full of arrogance. Their complexion changed. This matter can be said to be quite serious. No wonder so many people gathered in front of Heaven's top mansion. Compensation, my ass. Yang Yu angrily said. It must be your people who provoked the boss. Otherwise, how could the boss make a move? Compensation. You should compensate us. Each and every one of you betrayed the sect. You will be punished by abolishing your cultivation. Elder Shao, it seems that they are still stubborn. Feng Yulong sneered. I suggest we kill all the way in and give them a taste of our strength. Otherwise they will think that our Divine Rune Mansion is easy to bully. They killed our young master, and now they are still resisting. What kind of punishment do they deserve? Feng Yulong's heart is already angry. Now he just wants to take revenge. He wants to catch Yang Yu and beat her up to vent his anger. Elder Shao Jie looked at the crowd. His eyes are cold. It seems that you want us to take it ourselves. Well, all of you. I want you all to take everything away. The more you collect, the more credit you will get. When Mansion Lord Nan comes back, I will report one by one. Good. Everyone is excited, as if they can see the reward. The next moment, they all rushed forward. Feng Yulong is the leader. Yang Yu and the others are also ready to resist. However, a figure had already swept over and sent Feng Yulong, who was at the forefront, flying with a single kick. Feng Yulong was directly sent flying and spat out a mouthful of blood. After rolling on the ground a few times, he stopped breathing. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.